And Winder again to setbacks, and now they go to the I formation. First down, Denver. Gain of about 2 is Winder. He was hit by Jerry Ball, who was 283 pounds, out of SMU.
And Jerry Ball is like one of those destruction balls. He's 6 foot, about 290. He covers a lot of territory, and I think he's really helped solidify the inside area of the Detroit Lion defense.
It'll be second down for the Broncos. Jackson and Johnson, twin receivers. Elway with plenty of time, drills it across the middle, and it is another first down for the Broncos. It was Clarence K, big number 88, 237-pounder out of Georgia. Dwayne Galloway again makes the tackle.
Here's an end zone replay. We see K, the tight end on the right side, make an inside release. He gets a bump from the linebacker and goes outside of the bump, and the ball is right there, right on the money between the two linebackers. Perfectly thrown, and the great success of the play was contingent on the fact that Elway has such great anticipation.
12-yard pickup, Hank, so it'll be another first down for the Broncos. And they look in sync early. Clarence K, Orson Mobley, two tight ends. Elway to throw again on first down. Across the middle, wide open. Mark Jackson makes the catch inside Detroit territory. They'll mark it at the 33. Bruce McNorton made the hit.
It's a play-action fake, and watch the defense freeze up front. They got a lot of stunts going on, and as a result, there's a lot of time. Jackson runs a pattern inside against the zone. The ball is right on the money, and a big gain and a first down for the Denver Broncos.
23-yard pickup for Denver. Steve Sewell now goes to the wide receiving position. Elway to throw, right side, almost intercepted. It was intended for Mark Jackson, but Dwayne Galloway read it all the way, came up and knocked it away.
Great anticipation on the part of Galloway. Normally, he's the guy they like to pick on, but he saw what was coming, read the pattern beautifully, and almost came up with a big interception. I tell you, the Denver Broncos, they create so many problems for you offensively. They use every formation in the book, every play in the book, and you have to read extremely well to keep track of what's going on.
It'll be second and 10. Winder and Lang are the backs. K in motion. Elway with pressure on the outside, throws high and complete. Bruce McNorton was covering Vance Johnson out there. Again, there was good coverage. Elway had backside pressure, Hank, and he had to throw it high.
Well, William Gay that time, 79, the defensive right end, got good penetration that time. Made Elway step up into the pocket a little bit, but he threw the ball really when he wasn't exactly set to throw the ball, and as a result, it went sailing over the top.
John Elway came into this game ranked 8th among AFC passers, 83%. 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions today. He's 3 of 5 for 47 yards. The Lions now go to 6 defensive backs. Shotgun formation on 3rd and 10 for the Broncos. Flags fly. Elway carries out the play, throws it, and it's complete. Vance Johnson makes the catch inside the 15. They'll mark it around the 10. Rafael Cherry, the safety, made the tackle. We'll wait to see what the flag is, Hank.
We talk about a great gun. He gets the ball from the shotgun. There again, pass protection is good. Steps up into the pocket. Look at deliver the ball right on the money to Vance Johnson underneath the zone. First down for the Denver Broncos. But the key again was the fact that there was really no rush, no dramatic rush on the quarterback, John Elway.
We want to welcome those of you who have been watching the Washington win over Buffalo 27-7. We're at Mile High Stadium where Denver on its first possession, 4 first downs and now threatening. Sammy Winder bangs his way inside the 10 to about the 7-yard line between Keith Ferguson, makes the tackle for Detroit. Tim Brandt and Hank Stram at Mile High Stadium in Denver, Colorado, where Dan Reeves tells us he's trying to get his club untracked. He said this is like a 4th exhibition game for his team after the strike. They aren't in sync yet. And for Detroit, a story of woes, 1-5 on this early season. And Darryl Rogers, you have heard in somewhat of a tough situation with the owner, William Clay Ford, being very outspoken about his displeasure with that record and with his coach. 2nd and 6 inside field again as Winder bangs his way down to the 2-yard line. The hole opened up quickly. Dennis Gibson came out of his linebacker position to make the tackle. Look at this, Hank. 17 scores inside the 20-yard line in 22 possessions for the Denver Broncos.
That's strong, but really and truly, I think if he asked Dan Reeves about that, he would be disappointed because it should be more like 20.
Keep in mind, this is a rebuilt offensive line with Billy Bryan out. Larry Lee steps in. He came in a trade with Miami. 3rd and 1 inside, and it is a touchdown, Denver. Gene Lang, touchdown for the Broncos. It was John Elway that took it inside. The setbacks were Winder and Lang. The signal now is official. Touchdown, Denver.
Watch the ground level replay. Watch the offensive line come off the ball. And look at Larry Lee, the center, who is not supposed to be extremely good against the run or with the run. Got off a good block that time, and they go in for the touchdown. They lead 6-0.
Rich Carlos comes on for the extra point. He came into this game ranked 4th in the AFC in scoring with 30 points. Straight ahead, and the Broncos have made the first series look easy. John Elway with the touchdown, Hank. Carlos with the extra point. And that was a very methodical, very effective drive.
Here's another shot of the replay. They're in a gap defense. Look at the center come off the ball. Lee gets a good push, and John Elway, as big and strong as he is, goes right in for the touchdown. They penetrate the goal line. Touchdown, Denver Broncos.
10 plays, 80 yards. It took 4 minutes and 58 seconds.
Dan Reeves might have said that he was a little disappointed in the lack of timing on the part of the offense in his team, but I guarantee he cannot be disappointed in the timing and execution between Elway and the passing.
John Elway has led the AFC quarterbacks in rushing 3 straight years, and the pressure on that man, Darryl Rogers. Rogers in his 3rd year as head coach of the Lions, a record of 13-25. Spent 20 years coaching in the collegiate ranks and was very successful there.
Well, he knows what it takes to win, and I'm sure if he has time enough and gets the players he needs, he'll win in Detroit.
Butch Wolford takes it inside the 5, gets it back to the 12, and there are the special teams that Dan Reeves was talking about and chided this week, and they have responded quickly. Bruce Plummer makes the tackle. So Chuck Long will come on now as quarterback of the Detroit Lions, and he had a strong second half last week. He'll be facing this defensive line: Andre Townsend, Greg Cragen, and Rulon Jones. Simon Fletcher, Carl Mecklenburg, Ricky Hundley, and Jim Ryan. And the secondary: Haynes, Harden, Lilly, and Dennis Smith, the strong safety. James and Jones, the setbacks for Detroit. Strong running by Gary James, and he takes it across the 15 to the 17-yard line before Jim Ryan makes the tackle there. Take a look at that offensive talent for the Lions. Chuck Long, as we mentioned, big week against the Packers last week in the loss. Gary James and James Jones, the setbacks. Pete Manley and Jeff Chadwick, the wideouts. The offensive line: Lomas Brown, Scott Barrows, Steve Mott, Kevin Glover out of the University of Maryland, Harvey Salem, and Jimmy Giles, the tight end. And they say Giles is back in shape and playing very well now.
And he's one of the better tight ends in the National Football League. No question about that.
2nd and 4 from the 18. Chuck Long with time. What's the throw? Now dumps it across the middle, and it's incomplete, intended for James Jones. He had plenty of time, Hank.
He really did. But they had him covered well. He had escaped from the pocket, had to throw the ball on the move, threw it a little bit high, and it goes incomplete.
Hank, watch Rulon Jones and Carl Mecklenburg here.
Now, there are two guys that they really have to block, make sure they block on every play. If they don't block those 2 people, they're going to be in trouble. Not to mention Hundley, number 98, the middle linebacker, is he a snootful?
It is 3rd and 4 for Detroit. 6 defensive backs now for the Broncos. Long again to James Jones rather, and it's incomplete. Mike Harden was the man out there covering. It looked like James Jones, Hank, got into the flats cleanly, but then the ball was high. Well, you can see it has not been a pretty sight for punters in Detroit. Parade of punters. Ertzleben got the job out of camp. Eddie Murray came in. Jim Arnold, who was cut in camp, is now back. Mike Black, Matt Kinzer, and John Misko.
Almost as many punters as we had at Purdue when I was there, because there, all the alumni did the punting. They did the kicking.
Ricky Nattiel is deep for Denver. He stands on his own 40-yard line. It is a low, wobbly kick taken by Nattiel at the 44. He runs laterally and does not pick up any ground. Rob Rubik, the tight end, number 84, made the tackle.
As good as specialty teams are around the National Football League, you better take it, make a decision, and get up the field as soon as you possibly can. Running east and west is not the way to go.
A 39-yard punt. The thing about the Denver offense is we watch John Elway come on. Look at this. You can expect the unexpected, Hank.
Yeah, he does it all, and you never know when it's coming. That's the great thing about it is, and the great thing about it, too, I think, Timmy, is the fact that he personally calls the plays from the sideline, and I think that's great.
Flea flickers, halfback option passes. Flags fly. Sammy Winder and Steve Sewell with the setbacks, but it looked like the Lions jumped that time.
Encroachment prior to the snap. Number 93 defense, no first down.
That's Jerry Ball, the nose tackle. He got anxious up there. Dan Reeves, in his 7th year as head coach of the Broncos, also the vice president of the team. His teams have won 63% of their games, Hank. So he's 6th in the NFL from 1981 to 1987.
He's a great young coach. In fact, I liked him so much when he was in Dallas, I tried to hire him when I was in Kansas City.
Jackson and Johnson, the wideouts. Steve Sewell in the ballgame now. The lone setback, Sammy Winder. 1st and 5. This is Winder. Big hole. First down, or close to it, depending on the mark.
You know, when you play against the Denver Broncos, you have to worry so much about Elway. Here's a replay on a draw play. They run a trap. Look at Bishop, Keith Bishop, going through the hole. He gets a block, but Winder cuts back behind the would-be block and makes some yardage on the play.
It'll be 2nd and 1 from the 48.
As deep as those linebackers are, we might see something right over the guards or even another quarterback sneak. That play action fake. No rush at all.
Elway has a man wide open and finally knocked away. It was intended for Mark Jackson. Rafael Cherry had to come all the way over from his safety position and knock it away at the last second.
Rafael Cherry made a great play. Great play.
Hank Jackson came all the way across the field. He was wide out at the top right of the screen and dragged all the way across to the left side.
That tells you a little bit about how bad the pass rush was. There's no way in the world that you should permit a receiver to go from one hash mark all the way over to the other without getting some kind of pass rush, some kind of penetration on the quarterback.
It'll be 3rd and 1 from the 48. Denver 2 for 2 on 3rd down conversions today. Winder, big hole, 1st down, Denver. Sammy Winder needs 133 yards today to go over the 4,000-yard mark for his career. Shelton Robinson made the tackle.
And Larry Lee, the center, number 68, got off the ball in good shape and got a good block on the nose man that permitted some running room for the ball carrier.
What are your impressions so far of Denver?
Well, you know, they look like Denver looks always to me. They're always very explosive defensively. They don't self-destruct, right? They put a lot of points on the board.
On 1st down, it's Winder. Correction, Gene Lang. Lang out across the 40 inside to the 39-yard line. Offensive rankings, Washington at top. They've got another win today, but Denver right behind them. 2nd in total offense, 8th in the rush, 1st in the pass.
Year in and year out, Washington, the San Diego Chargers, the Denver Broncos, they're always right up there on top from an offensive standpoint.
I tell you what, Denver number 1 in the pass. You look at the Detroit Lions, they're 22nd in pass defense.
Look at all the room on the right side from a pass standpoint, one-on-one. Let's see if they do business there. Looks like he's changing the play.
2nd and 6.
There he goes.
Intended for Jackson. And Dwayne Galloway again was covering out on the corner. Talking about the defense of Detroit, ranked 22nd against the pass. Look at Detroit overall in defense. They are 22nd.
And that's the problem. You know, you cannot win in the National Football League if you cannot stop people. It doesn't make any difference how many points you make offensively. Miami, I think, and San Diego in the past have been a great illustration of that. That they score a lot of points, but they don't stop people.
4 wideouts for the Broncos now. 6 defensive backs for Detroit. 3rd and 6 from the 40. Elway, pressure from the backside. Throws anyway. It's complete. Vance Johnson takes it down deep into Detroit territory. They'll mark it at the 28. Dwayne Galloway again makes the tackle on the deep outside corner.
Vance Johnson comes over from the left side to the right side, breaks underneath. They got 1-for-1 coverage on the defensive back, Bostic, coming across the middle. Galloway is trying to cover Johnson on the play, and finally makes the tackle.
Vance Johnson runs a 4.36 40, third-year pro out of Arizona. Came into this game with 12 catches for a team leading 178 yards, and Denver now has 7 first downs. Elway, hands inside on first down. Winder with a big hole, gets outside, inside the 15 to the 14-yard line. Sammy Winder is finally stopped by Bruce McNorton.
That was a counter play with the right guard, Ayers, and Lanier's the tackle pulling on the play. Look at the blocks they get downfield. A good block on number 34, Griffin, and he makes a great run, picks up the necessary yardage for the first down. Great blocking at the point of attack by the offensive linemen, especially Ayers and Lanier.
We talked about the offensive linemen and how it has been rebuilt. Larry Lee came in a trade with Miami. John Ayers starts at guard, picked off waivers from the 49ers. 1st and 10 from the 14 again. Sammy Winder, right side, not much there that time.
You know, Timmy, coming into the game, Vance Johnson has only caught 12 passes. And talking to Dan Reeves on the field before the game, he said that normally we're involved with Vance Johnson on about 12 plays from our slot formation. This week we're going to increase it by about 6. He's going to be involved in about 18 because we're moving from the slot to the split inside. So we want to make sure we get him as many many passes as we possibly can.
Clarence Kay, Orson Mobley, the tight end. 2nd and 7 on the 11. Sammy Winder down to the 5. And we want to welcome those of you who have been watching the Tampa Bay-Green Bay game. Tampa Bay winning that one 23-17 here at Mile High Stadium. Tim Brandt and Hank Stram. And the Denver Broncos lead here 7-0 over the Detroit Lions, and they are driving again. 7 first downs.
Keith Bishop, the left guard. Boy, what a great block he got on Williams, the left linebacker. Jimmy Williams, 59, knocked him right to the turf. A beautiful block by Keith Bishop, who I think probably is one of the great pulling guards in the National Football League. I don't know who does it better.
We are told that Dave Studdard has had his bell rung a little bit. They're holding him out. This is 3rd and 1. Boy, good fill there. Sammy Winder's the ball carrier. The defensive line closed quickly. Curtis Green made the initial hit along with Maxwell.
Maxwell got the shoulder in there, number 57, and really gave him a good shot.
4th and 1, Hank, would you go for it?
I'd go for it. I really would. This position of the field, they're moving the ball very well. They ought to be able to make the first down. If they don't, they're still got good field position, and they got Detroit in the soup. I would definitely go for it.
The only thing that could hurt Denver, penalties. Broncos were penalized 10 times for 128 yards last week. Here, been pretty much penalty free, and the Broncos have moved at will. 7 first downs for the Broncos. Ken Bell comes into the ball game along with Gene Lang, the power backs for the Broncos. Look at this. These are the players that are not starting today that started in the Super Bowl. Billy Bryan, injured reserves. Mark Cooper, he is not starting. Steve Watson and Gerald Wilhite have been injured in the last 3 weeks. Wilhite last week very badly. Tom Jackson, Lewis Wright, Steve Foley, all retired, Hank.
Well, I tell you, the good teams, in spite of the people they lose, in spite of injuries, somehow, some way, use that as a reason to win rather than an excuse to lose.
Surprisingly, Denver in the AFC West is 1.5 games behind surprise division leader San Diego, half game behind Seattle, a team they beat 40-17. Gerald Wilhite's injury, I mentioned, serious. It was also ugly, Hank.
Oh, it was terrible. I get goose pimples every time I see the rerun.
It reminds me of the Joe Theismann injury. But again, we remind you, the Broncos have had 3 major injuries in recent weeks. We talked about Gerald Wilhite. You just saw that. Steve Watson broke his ribs against the Raiders. And Billy Bryan tore knee ligaments against Kansas City.
But this is the kind of a team, I think, Timmy, that regardless who they lose, and they're going to miss Wilhite, but regardless of who they lose, they're going to pick up the slack, and that is not going to make any dramatic difference into whether they win or lose. I really feel that way about the Denver Broncos.
Denver now faced with a 4th and 1 from the 5. Gene Lang, Ken Ball. The setbacks for Denver.
See if they roll out, play action, something on this situation to get the necessary yardage.
Here's the play action, but there's a whistle. The play will not continue. We talked about penalties. We'll wait and see what this one is. Again, it looked like Jerry Ball may have jumped for Detroit.
You know, it's hard for me to understand how, if that was Jerry Ball, I don't know how in the world. Let's see what they
False
say.
start, center, illegal snap.
Okay, I didn't think, yeah, okay. But Jerry Ball was offside on one occasion early in the ball game. I don't know, in general, I don't know how the guy playing on the nose of the center can be offside. He's right on the ball. I don't know why he would ever be offside.
Hank, I mentioned that Denver could only hurt itself. Denver was penalized again 10 times for 128 yards last week, and that had Dan Reeves very upset. Rich Carlos comes on to attempt the field goal. He has 7 of 8 this year.
And it hurts when you have a chance to make 7 and you have to wind up making 3 or maybe not making the field goal or getting nothing.
27-yard attempt for Rich Carlos. Certainly long enough, straight enough, and it's good. So the Denver Broncos jump on top of the Detroit Lions 10-0, exactly what the Lions did not want to happen. Now with that field goal from 28 yards makes it a 10-0 ball game. He is now 8 of 9 in the field goal department this year for Denver. And deep for the Lions, Butch Wolfuk and Gary Lee.
It's fun to kick in Denver. All the kickers, watching the kickers yesterday, you couldn't get them off the field. You had to get a big hook when they wanted to kick so long.
Fun to play golf here in Colorado as well. This kick is high, it is short, and it's taken by Wolfuk on a 2. Out across the 20 to the 21-yard line. Well, we talked to Chuck Long yesterday and asked him about reading the coverages.
Well, I expect them to do some things that Green Bay didn't do last week. I feel that right now I feel pretty good about reading coverages. Last year was a different situation. I was just trying to get through the playbook. This year I feel, going through a training camp, I feel a lot better. I'm sure Denver's going to do some different things, like I said before. They might blitz me. Green Bay didn't blitz me at all last week, so Denver might, in turn, blitz me this week. We expect a lot of different coverages, what they've shown on film. They've shown a lot of different coverages for the quarterbacks on film, and I expect them to do nothing different this week.
Well, there is something different. An interception. The ball was intended for Rob Rubik. It was intercepted by strong safety Dennis Smith. So here come the Broncos.
When it rains, it pours. When you're having tough times, look at this. He throws a perfect strike. Mecklenburg, number 77, is blitzing on the play. They picked it up perfectly. The ball is thrown beautifully, but it pops out of his hands and into the arms of Dennis Smith. And again, great field position, 1st and 10 for the Denver Broncos.
There is an injured Denver player. While there's timeout on the field, we'll take one as well. Taken up after his interception. It looked like he just had the wind knocked out of him and then maybe twisted a leg. They're working on the leg now, but he's got his breath back. He goes out. The Denver Bronco offense comes on, and it's 1st and 10 from the 22. 2 tight ends, Clarence Kay and Orson Mobley. Elway runs the waggle, throws across the middle, incomplete. It was intended for Clarence Kay. And I mean, Hank, it was drilled. Rafael Cherry was the man covering, but the ball should have been caught.
I think this is Great illustration of what happens when you move the pocket. Now look at this. Everybody is concerned about his throwing from the pocket. He rolls out to the right side. The linebacker's dropping back into the air. Look at all the room he has to throw the ball. All the time in the world. Good vision. Good vision. The ball should have been caught. Hit his shoulder pad and bounced right out of there. But a great illustration how important it is to be able to move the pocket.
Gene Lang comes into the ball game, so it is Lang and Sammy Winder in the backfield on 2nd and 10 from the 22. Elway to throw again. Pressure across the middle, and this one is overthrown. Again, it was intended for Clarence Kay, and he makes a big target, 6'2", 237 pounds.
Jerry Ball that time, the nose man, got good penetration and got a shot on Elway. Jerry Ball, 93.
It'll be 3rd and 10, Hank, from the 22.
And Jerry Ball's a load. He reminds me an awful lot of Curly Culp, the great player we had at Kansas City.
He also moves well with that size.
Oh, he does. You got to throw the ball inside here with the coverage the way it is. Something inside between the numbers or the hash marks.
Pressure from the inside. Elway has to scramble. Throws, and it's complete. Knocked out of bounds. Steve Sewell makes the completion down inside the 10 to the 5-yard line. And again, John Elway uses those quick feet and great vision to make the play.
Watch him again. This is what's murder about him. See, you think you got an inside guy coming right up in his face. In spite of that, he escapes the pressure, runs to his left, rights himself, and throws the ball right on the money. Unbelievable to Steve Sewell, number 30. A beautiful play, and he's the guy that makes it happen. We talked about it before the game, but he's the reason they win, and you got to somehow, some way contain him. I don't know how you do that.
In his 5th year out of Stanford, the former #1 draft pick seems to get better every time out. 1st and goal from the 5. Winder to the 2-yard line.
John Ayers, the right guard. The right guard, number 67, got a good block on the linebacker. The right guard, John Sayers, 67.
John Ayers, and then Shelton Robinson made the tackle. So it'll be 2nd and goal from the 2 for Denver, and the Broncos already lead 10-0. We've got 1:35 remaining first quarter from Mile High Stadium. Sewell in motion. The give inside. Winder. Touchdown, Denver.
This looks like an instant replay of what happened last week against the Green Bay Packers. The Detroit Lions get off to a bad start, and then they have to play catch-up football, and it's really difficult. Here's a ground-level replay. Look at a good surge by the offensive line. A good block on the outside by Lang. The linebacker goes down, and he goes right inside, barely crosses the plane, but he does, makes the touchdown, and the Denver Broncos get another 7.
Hank, coming out here to Denver, having watched films and done all the research, I figured, well, this game's not even going to be close. But after talking to the Lions, I started to say, well, maybe they will play well. But thus far, it's been all Denver. Kubiak the holder, Carlos the kicker, and the extra point is good. So the Denver Broncos lead the Detroit Lions 17-0 with 1:25 remaining first quarter. At will, Hank.
Yeah, watch the center. Watch the center. Lee on Jerry Ball, number 98 or 93. Look at the block he gets. He gets a good push, and for that reason, Winder is able to go inside of the block and go in, barely go in for the touchdown.
Winder now has 45 yards and a touchdown.
You know, the funny thing about it is, talking to Detroit coaches yesterday, they didn't think that Larry Lee was a good blocker at the point of attack.
Gary Lee takes it out to the 20-yard line. The ball was loose. The Lions get it back. And that could have been devastating. Hank, Denver now has 10 first downs offensively. The Lions have yet to get one. You see the scoring drive took 5 plays, 22 yards, and only 144.
You know, the tough thing about the Detroit Lions is they have 2 outstanding running backs. They've had some trouble with their offensive line, but they like to come into the game with the hope and expectation of running the football. But when you get behind like they do early in the ball game, it's tough to do much running, and as a result, they're forced to throw the ball, and it's really murder.
Well, Chuck Long will have to start throwing now. He went for 362 yards and 3 touchdowns in last week's loss. This is Long. Long hands to Gary James, and he may have gotten a couple before Jim Ryan, number 50, took him down.
One thing they haven't been able to do with the two good running backs, they haven't been able to establish any consistency. Both backs, I think Gary James, of course, the first time he played was last week, but Jones, the outstanding player he is, I think they've averaged about 8 carries a game, and James only 4. So you can't establish much of a rhythm offensively and not being able to run more than that.
Jones and James, the setbacks on 2nd and 9, flags fly. They give up in the middle. And while we wait to see what that is, Hank, I was surprised when James Jones told us yesterday when we met with him that there were only 1 or 2 plays in the offense now that he has that are off tackle.
That is very surprising because he is an outstanding running back. And, of course, you know, when you have a guy like James, you have to make a decision. I think with Jones, you're going to take the bus and play ball control football and make first downs and move the change, which is not bad. With James, you're going to take the Concorde and fly over the top and get big plays. So far, they haven't been able to do that. And that's why they're relying on James. They think maybe one time he gets stopped for no gain, but the next time he might go 65. I don't think they think that Jones is capable of making those big plays.
Referee Jerry Seaman tells us that it was Andre Townsend of the Broncos that jumped early that time and was penalized. So it'll be 2nd and 3 from the 27 for Detroit. The give to Gary James. James cuts inside and gets across the 30 to the 31-yard line.
Bob Rubik that time got a good block on the linebacker and gave him some running room inside.
Carl Mecklenburg made the tackle, and we are at the end of the first quarter here at Mile High Stadium, where it has been all Denver to this point. The Broncos lead the Lions 17-0. Hank Stram with you from Mile High Stadium. And Hank, we talked about the turmoil, the controversy this past week with the Detroit Lions. Obviously, it's having an effect.
Yeah, it does. You know, I really thought they'd play a very emotional game, and I haven't seen any emotion so far at all. None whatsoever. And it looks like, you know, when bad things happen to you, if you're not careful, they say, uh-oh, here we go again, and they go right back into that same shell and create a problem for themselves. The game's a long way from being over. Let's hope they can come back and do something.
It is 1st and 10 from the 31 for Detroit. And the Lions have just gotten their first down at the ball game. Chuck Long throws it away. The Broncos wanted a flag. Rulon Jones was the man applying the pressure, and Rulon Jones prefers his first name pronounced Rulon. Sometimes you hear it Rulon Jones, but he said it's Rulon.
But I just think quarterbacks care what you call them. I just want they want to make sure that somebody blocks him. He wasn't blocked that time, and we said earlier, to move the ball against this team, you got to block Jones, you got to block Hundley, 98, and also Mecklenburg, number 77. Those 3 guys are murdered.
2nd and 10 from the 31. James and Jones in the backfield for Detroit. James, right side, gets a little bit of a block. Carries it up to the 37-yard line, and Dennis Smith, back in the ball game now, makes the tackle.
And James Jones, boy, what a great block he made on a linebacker. It looked like a linebacker going through the hole, number 30.
Gary James, now in his 2nd year out of LSU. He's 5'10", 214 pounds. Had only 12 carries coming into this game for 29 yards. Hank, that's hard to figure.
No, it really is. And I think he's the kind of a back that really has to carry the ball anywhere from 22 to 25, 27 times a game. Because I think it takes the great backs anywhere from 10 to 12 plays. They just get in a rhythm and a flow of the game.
6 defensive backs for the Broncos. It's 3rd and 3. Chuck Long, 3-step drop, now in trouble. First sack of the year for Carl Mecklenburg. He's out to prove something.
They're all trying to prove something, but Mecklenburg, and he comes from a great variety of places. This time he comes from the right side, gets inside the block, and gets the penetration, gets the sack, number 77. He'll play right end, right linebacker, right tackle, left tackle. He plays any one of the 7 positions in the defensive categories.
Look at this, Hank. The lack of sacks. Rulon Jones and Mecklenburg, who have been dominant in years past. They have struggled that. In fact, their first sack, Ricky Natile is deep. And this punt will take him inside the 20 to the 17-yard line, and he'll return it. Out to the 32-yard line goes Ricky Natile. Eric Sanders made the tackle for Detroit. We've got 14 minutes and 16 seconds remaining in the second quarter. Denver leading 17-0. It's been all Broncos. 55-yard punt backed up the Denver Broncos. A 14-yard return. It's 1st and 10 on the 31, and Denver leads Detroit 17-0. Boy, Hank, this team does not look out of sync to me. The Broncos look strong.
Well, again, Elway is such an artist playing that quarterback position. He just drives you crazy.
Elway, 3-step drop, fires, complete. Incomplete. Mark Jackson was the intended receiver. I was giving it to him before he caught it, but it came off his shoulder pads.
Yeah, it looked too easy. It looked too easy. He was so open, and I don't think he looked the ball into his hands for that reason. Went right through the hands, hit the shoulder pads, and bounced right out. You know, the other thing about Elway, he gets rid of the ball so quickly. It's amazing how quickly he gets rid of the ball. He throws the ball like a catcher.
I was thinking like a defensive back. I saw the ball coming. He was wide open. The ball hit him in the chest. I gave him the completion.
Yep.
It'll be 2nd and 10 from the 31. Elway again with plenty of time. Incomplete. He bounced that one in. Right now, let's go back to New York. Brent Musburger has an update on the AFC Central.
Well, Tim, Houston trailed by 15 early in the fourth. They came all the way back to beat Cincinnati. They could wind up all alone in first, depending on what happens in the San Diego game. San Diego leads Cleveland 14-7. Let's go back to Tim.
All right, Brandon, and San Diego, of course, sitting up top, game and a half. Surprise division leader.
I tell you, if they
game
don't
and a half over Denver, I should say.
If Detroit doesn't start getting some rush on that quarterback, they're allowed to wear out some footballs out here today.
Elway with all the time he wants to throw and has another completion, this time to Ricky Natiel. The ball is marked on the 49-yard line.
And here again, moving the pocket. Look at him. He steps up, and then he rolls right. Bishop, number 54, is pulling. It's a play by design. All the time in the world. Gets rid of the ball in good shape. And it looks like they've got number 95. He's playing the kind of a cop on the defensive scheme of things, trying to keep him, George Jameson, to make sure he's a cop and give Elway a ticket anytime he escapes from that pocket, but he hasn't been able to do anything with it yet.
Looks like they all have a ticket. This is Winder, and he's down inside Detroit territory to the 43-yard line before Shelton Robinson can finally stop him. Right now, Detroit has been non-existent. Look at these scores from yesterday. Florida State, big over Tulane, and Auburn over Florida. John Elway having a hot year. Don't forget, coming up next Saturday, college football continues on CBS Sports. 4th-ranked Florida State, 7-1, and they go against the Auburn Tigers.
I saw them the other day, and they are impressive. Talking about Florida State.
And it's another first down for Denver. Sammy Winder picks it up. Keith Ferguson makes the tackle. Sammy Smith, Jeff Berger, what a game he had last night, Hank, for Auburn.
Oh, he really did, didn't he? Terrific.
Two of the guys you'll see next Saturday on college football as it continues here on CBS Sports.
You know, the way Denver's moving the ball looks like a bag drill. They're just going up and down the field. They're doing anything they want to do. They throw the ball. They run the ball. That last time was a counter play with great success.
1st and 10 from the 37. Winder and Sewell now in the ball game for Denver. Sammy Winder picks his hole inside the 35 to the 33-yard line.
That time Ayers, number 67, the right guard, got out in front in good shape, along with the right tackle, Ken Lanier. But they're having great success with that play, a counter play, taking a step to the right, going back to the left side. It looked like they have a design to go to their left, and they're running it very successfully.
Sammy Winder working hard here. Has led Denver in rushing the last 5 years. Two-time Pro Bowler. 2nd and 5 from the 32. Mobley in the motion. Elway looks deep. Now throws over the middle again. It's incomplete. It was intended for Clarence Kay, and the tight end's having a tough time holding on to the football, Hank.
That time they faked. If we could possibly see Gay on the play, they pulled the left guard and the left tackle, the right guard, and the defense responded to the pulling people. He ran outside, and Gay, watch Gay, number 79 now. Look at him. on the right side of your picture. He's way in the middle of the formation, and here Elway is way out to the left side, but he was going way inside because of the tackle and the guard pull. A great-looking play, except they dropped the football.
3rd and 5 from the 32. The Broncos have scored on their first 3 possessions. Elway, the quick out pattern, incomplete. It was intended for Gene Lang.
Gene Lang seemed like he was going to be satisfied to catch the ball and lay down. He should have been able to catch the ball in stride and continue to run with it. Instead, he just dropped the football in the process of trying to lay down.
Lang, an 11th round draft pick in 1984, now in his 4th year out of LSU. Rich Carlos comes on 4th and 5 to attempt the field goal. This will be a 50-yard attempt for Carlos.
It looks like they could fake the field goal and get a big play. Everybody's up on the line of scrimmage.
It's long enough, but it's wide to the right, so it is no good. And for the first time, the Detroit Lions have stopped the Denver Broncos this afternoon. The score remains Denver 17, Detroit nothing. Denver Broncos lead the Detroit Lions 17-0 with 11:06 remaining in the first half. The Broncos 186 total yards offense. The Lions 7 total offense. The Lions have 1 turnover.
Here we see Larry Lee, the center, number 68, doing a good job of blocking at the point of attack, and John Elway going in for the touchdown. Here's a second touchdown. Here you see Winder going right inside and just crossing the plane, making a touchdown.
And, of course, in between those 2 touchdowns of Elway and Sammy Winder, Rich Carlos hit a 28-yard field goal, and that's where we are, 17-0. And, Hank, did you expect this?
You know, very frankly, it's easy to say this with the game going like it is. We were afraid that this might happen. We were hoping it wouldn't happen, and it's a long way from being over. But I'm disappointed in the way the Lions are playing. It just doesn't seem like they have any animation, any enthusiasm, any spark, and that's the one thing I thought they would have today.
How about this, Coach? For Denver, 115 yards passing. For Detroit, 0.
Yeah, and they've only rushed for 17 yards, and the one thing they felt they had to do to win the game today was to be able to establish some kind of balance between the run and the pass. They haven't been able to do anything so far.
I can't say it's really a surprise. The Lions were burned for 323 yards last week by Green Bay's Don Majkowski. And now John Elway comes in here today, and he has the hot hand. So the Lions have had problems. On 1st and 10, long throws, and it's complete. Pickup of 7. James Jones carries it out to the 42-yard line. They'll mark it. Carl Mecklenburg runs him out there.
Now, people watching the game, they say, now why in the world are they running the football when they're down like they are? The reason being, of course, that they have to keep some pressure off of the quarterback. They have to slow down the rush. And I think they have to incorporate the run, the draws, the traps, and the screens so they don't get murdered going back in the pocket, throwing the ball all the time. They have to do something to slow down the rush. And really, they're only 3 games away from being out of the game.
Well, that was an effective play-action pass by Long. This is now 2nd and 1, first down for the Lions. They take it out to the 47-yard line. James Jones, the ball carrier. Most of you will see one of the league's greatest rivalries next week. The Bears go to Lambeau Field to battle the Packers. It all starts at 12:30 Eastern Time with the NFL Today. And those of you in the Detroit area will see the Dallas Cowboys battle the Detroit Lions. That starts at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is a change now. That time is 4 o'clock. From the 47-yard line now, 1st and 10, Detroit. Look at that. Denver, 12 first downs. The Lions, 2. Long throws, has a man. It's complete. Pete Manley, his first catch of the day. And he'll be up close to another Detroit first down, about a yard short.
That was a play-action fake that time, a play-action pass. Good protection. And I think this young quarterback, Chuck Long, is going to be really one of the bright young quarterbacks in the National Football League. I really think he's going to be. He's got all the qualities. And I'm impressed with his poise and his confidence in talking to the Denver coaches. They say, you know, usually you like to blitz a young quarterback, but this guy's got so much poise that we don't know whether we can afford to blitz. It doesn't affect him very much.
He was the runner-up to the Heisman Trophy race, Bo Jackson in 1985. Scott Williams makes his first appearance and picks up a first down for Detroit. So now the Lions do start to move, Hank.
That's the thing they have to do. They have to get some confidence in the running game and they can't abandon the plan this early in the game. Losing 17-0, it's got to be discouraging, but it's a far from being over at this point of the game.
Well, they got down early last week, though, 24 points to Green Bay, and came back, had a chance to win the game. Lost 34-33. They went after a 45-yard field goal at the end and missed it. So they can come back. Will Rogers was calm yesterday. He doesn't look so calm right now. 1st and 10 from the 40. Gary James, right side again, picks up good yardage. And again, it's Carl Mecklenburg who makes the tackle.
Harvey Salem, the right guard that time, made a great block.
Gary James shaken up on the play, Hank.
That's really been one of the problems with James. He hasn't been able to play. He's had problems physically. And as a result, boy, look, Kansas City played their Bears a great game, 28-23.
Gary James in a lot of pain. Played wingback at LSU in the same backfield with Dalton Hilliard. We'll be back. Just gotten up with the assistance of the trainer, walks on his own off the field. Hey, this is starting to look like the Denver team of old. Let's go back to the AFC Championship game. John Elway takes the Broncos 98 yards in 15 plays and caps the drive with his 5-yard pass to Mark Jackson with 37 seconds left in regulation to tie the game at 20. In overtime, Rich Karlis kicked his 33-yard field goal, which looked wide but hooked just inside the goalpost to send the Broncos to their 2nd Super Bowl. Here it is 2nd and 3 from the 33. Carl Bernard in the ballgame now for Gary James, and he may have lost a yard.
Kevin Glover, number 53, the center, came out that time and got a good block on the outside linebacker. He looks like he's got a lot of action, a lot of good movement.
It'll be 3rd and 2 from the 32. We've got 8 minutes and 5 seconds remaining in the half. Denver leads 17-0. Count, Manley in motion. They try to go to Manley. He slips. Now they go back to the right side. It'll be close to the 1st down. The catch made by Carl Bland. The mark does give him the 1st down. The crowd here at Mile High doesn't like it. Dennis Smith made the tackle.
I have to make a correction too, Timmy. Glover is playing guard, not center, but they got him listed as a center, but he's playing right guard.
Well, Glover played center at the University of Maryland, and boy, do they like him, Hank.
And looking at him, he got another good block on that last play on pass protection.
The update on Gary James is he's hurt his elbow, possibly a hyperextended elbow, and he may return. Carl Bernard has come in and taken his place. And with the mark that the Detroit Lions got, it is a 1st down.
They're showing more energy here, Tim, and doing a good job of mixing up the pass and the run.
No question, but the fact this team proved it could come back after last week.
I think maybe the coaches before the game ought to tell them, listen, you're losing already 21-0, and maybe that might motivate them and they might play better. That's a new approach.
Give them the halftime talk before the game.
That's right.
Carl Bernard, James Jones at the backs. Play action. Chuck Long with time throws it away. Boy, that time ran out quickly. He had time, then things closed down. It was intended for Jeff Chadwick. Tim Brandt and Hank Stram at Mile High Stadium in Denver, Colorado. Denver jumped out to a 17-0 lead. We now have 7 minutes and 4 seconds remaining in the half, and Detroit showing life for the first time this afternoon. It'll be 2nd and 10 from the 29-yard line. John Elway scored first for Denver on a 3-yard touchdown run. Rich Karlis added a 28-yard field goal, and Sammy Winder scored from 2 yards out, and that's where we are, 17-0. And they're going to take Gary James into the locker room. 6 defensive backs for Denver. Chuck Long throws it across the middle, and it is complete to Carl Bernard. Randy Robbins makes the tackle.
You know, Long is he has an incredible stat. Timmy, you know, on 1st down so far this season, on 1st down, he's 60.4% completion. And on later downs, he's 68.7. It's incredible because normally you have a good passing percentage on 1st and 10, and it drops dramatically on 2nd and 3rd down. This kid has just been incredible in the games he's played so far this season.
We're told that Scott Williams has been taken into the locker room. He has a shoulder injury. You saw Gary James leaving the field. He has a bad elbow. So it is a physical game, and it's starting to take its toll.
You know, sometimes from a psychological standpoint, too, this has a bearing often in a game like this. You know, the Denver Broncos, they start off like a bang, like gangbusters, and they think it's going to be easy. And they let up a little bit sometimes, and sometimes they wind up scratching their head trying to figure out what happened. They let the other team get back in the ball game.
Lions are impressive inside the 20. This ball is loose. The Broncos have it. Carl Mecklenburg got it.
Oh, that's murder. When you have a bad exchange in professional football between the quarterback and the center, like Mecklenburg, number 77, look at him get the penetration. The ball is loose. Very decisively, and he pounces on the football. And the Denver Broncos have possession on the 20.
He is decisive. No false steps. Saw the loose ball immediately. Went right after it. 1st and 10 from the 21, Hank.
He almost squeezed the air out of the ball.
He can do it. Elway. Winder. Boy, he's met rudely. Looked like Jerry Ball made the contact. Boy, and he really tagged him, too. Sammy Winder, 65 yards today. Keep in mind, he needs 133 today to go over the 4,000-yard mark for his career. It'll be 2nd and 8. Winder comes out. Sewell comes into the ball game for the Broncos.
You know, the other great thing about it, Timmy, from Denver's standpoint, they've been able to do everything extremely well. Whenever they want to run, they run. They pass, they pass. They've really stopped themselves a couple of times because they dropped some passes. But what they're trying to do has been excellent.
Vance Johnson, Ricky Nattiel, the wideouts for Elway. 2nd and 9. Inside pressure, Elway to the 27-yard line and slides down there. Vernon Maxwell tagged him.
Watch the pass protection here. Look at Ball on the center. Linebacker Williams blitzing on the play. He's back in the pocket. Back in the pocket. Good blocking at the point of attack. There's Bishop. There's how he got away from the would-be tackler is incredible. The would-be tackler, evidently, William Gay, had to close his eyes. I don't know how else he could have missed it.
9-yard pickup for Elway. He now needs just 9 more, and he'll have to be over 1,000 for his career. Flags fly. Ball is loose. Look at the athletic ability of Elway to knock that one away. Reggie Rogers applied the pressure for the Lions. Got a hand on the ball, and Elway batted it away himself.
Here we see it again. Look at the pressure inside. Linebacker blitzing. Number 57 throws the ball, and Reggie Rogers leaps up into the air, knocks the ball down. A great play, great athletic play by Reggie Rogers.
Then did you see Elway knock it away
Yes.
to keep it from being an interception?
Very alert. He's always aware of what's happening.
Holding against Denver will bring up 4th down and 3. So Pete Manley now will go back to field his first punt. Mike Moran will punt it for Denver.
I think you got to try to block a kick and do something to make something happen, get good field position. I'm talking about Detroit. Let's see if they go after the kicker this time. They might make him kick a bad one or something, but at least they have to try to make something happen with their specialty teams and their defense to get better field position.
Manley is the only player in the NFC, Hank, who has returned a punt for a touchdown in both of the last 2 seasons. He'll get a chance here. He'll take it back out to the 35-yard line, and that's where they'll down it. Keith Bishop, number 54, came down to make the tackle. 48-yard punt, 10-yard return by Manley. We've got 4 minutes and 33 seconds remaining in the half, and Denver leads 17-0, Hank.
Interesting talking to Manley. He said when he's back there to catch a punt, he listens for Eddie Murray on the sideline to tell him whether he should catch it or not. Unbelievable. Now here's Eddie Murray on the sideline, and he's watching very intently for Manley, and he tells him, go, 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 and that tells Manley to catch the ball and run. Unusual. Never saw that before. Lim Barney, who was a great returner for Detroit Lions, he heard it and said he couldn't believe it. He said, I didn't depend on anybody to tell me where to go. Manley calls the guys coming down to make the tackle. He calls them the Hawks.
On first down, long to throw, looks, has a man, and it is complete out to the 45-yard line. Jimmy Giles, his tight end, brings it in. You know what surprises me is that he listens to Murray, and Murray yells no or go.
That can be very confusing.
When you've got 76,000 fans screaming as that punch comes down, and the two outside Hawks, they call them, coming down and applying the pressure. Boy, how do you distinguish between no and go?
It's awful tough. That's why in punt returns, you never said no or go. You always said you, me, so it's very understandable. This is very confusing.
I've got it. You take it. The old touch football. James back in the ball game now. His injury evidently not serious. He may have lost a yard, and there is a flag on the play. Walt Boyer came across and made the tackle. Big number 65 out of Arizona State, third-year pro. He's 6'4", 252 pounds.
You know, one thing is you look at the Denver Bronco defense, it looks like on almost every play or every other play, somebody breaks clean, gets penetration, which means that the offensive line and backs are not doing the kind of a job they should do.
Neutral zone defense, still first down.
Jerry Seaman, the referee, almost looked like he was smiling when he made that call.
He looks like that all the time. He's always a very happy personality.
So it'll be 1st and 5. The ball at midfield.
You got to be impressed with Chuck Long. He's really got a lot of confidence and a lot of poise.
Long looks, has a man wide open. It's James. To the 35, runs out of bounds at the 30-yard line. Gary James, run out by Tony Lilly.
Was he open in the flat? It looked like he ran off the bench or out of the bleachers. He was that open, and again, Chuck Long with good vision spotted him quickly. And the great thing about him is when he sees it, he gets rid of the ball very quickly. He did on that last play.
21-yard pickup for the Lions, and Hank. Detroit has moved the ball effectively. The last 2 times it's had the ball, it's hurt itself with penalties and with turnovers.
Exactly right, and it looks like Denver kind of sleepwalking a little bit.
We've got 3:25 remaining in the half. Denver leads 17-0. 1st and 10. Detroit at the 29. Play action. Flags fly. And again, it's a completion. This time to James Jones. We'll have to wait to see what the penalty is. And the way the Lions are reacting, it's against Denver, it is.
You know, one thing I think is very important when you play against the Denver Broncos, you got to make sure you know where Mecklenburg is, number 77, Jones, number 75 is, and you want to make sure that you try to do as much business.
Number 65 defense, lined up in the neutral zone, still first down.
As much business as you possibly can against those, away from those two people. To make sure that you run away from and throw away from those two people because they are terrific players and get great penetration.
Hank, if Detroit scores here, makes it 17-7 with time left in the first half. They're back in it.
Well, certainly. And again, you got to realize only 3 plays from being out of the game.
1st and 5. Long with a lot of pressure. Is it intercepted? No.
Out of bounds.
Ricky Hundley read it. Went in front of the intended receiver, Gary James, but did not get both feet in and stepped out of bounds. Boy, but he played it perfectly.
Hundley is unbelievable, as big and as strong, and look, he's out there in the flat making an interception. Look at that, a one-handed interception, but he does not get both feet in bounds. He has possession, but both feet are not in bounds, and that's why they call it an incompleted forward pass.
Boy, Hundley's active. Watching him in films, he is all over the field. 2nd and 5 from the 24.
Blitzing on the play, and they pick up the blitz.
Long fires, incomplete.
They had linebackers coming that time, and the lineman did a good job of picking up the blitz.
It was intended, Hank, for Pete Manley. How about that defense by Harden?
Watch the linebackers coming. Watch Mecklenburg, 77, coming in here. They knock him down. He throws right over the top to Manley. Had the ball been thrown a little bit lower at the numbers, he might have been able to complete the ball. The defensive back did a great job, Mike Harden, of coming over the top and knocking the ball down.
Chuck Long now getting into the ball game with rhythm. He doesn't like what he sees. The ball snapped. Time was called. Whoa, my.
That would have been a first. Snap the ball to the mystery guy back there who isn't there, the ghost quarterback, and the guy pick it up, run for a touchdown. We've never seen that play. That would have been a first.
I'll tell you what, it would have been a touchdown for Denver, because you're right, there was not a soul back there but orange jerseys. Right across the street, Nick Nichols Arena, home of the Nuggets. And coming up next week on CBS, the NBA Crown, a special preview of the NBA's 42nd season. That'll be at 2 o'clock Eastern time. The quest for the NBA. Who do you like, Hank?
Well, I like the Lakers. I really do. They've got too much talent. You talk about, they're great stars.
Magic Johnson.
Yeah, they talk about Johnson an awful lot and Kareem, but they've got a lot of great players on that team, and they're capable of coming back and winning it all again, I guarantee.
I was watching Magic this week. He's been having troubles with that Achilles tendon again. Problem he's had the last 2 years, but he went to camp and it was bothering him more than usual, and they said, hey, let's not fool with it. Let's get you back and get you in the pool and get you on the bike, and let's get that thing healthy and ready to roll. It's going to be a long season.
That's the key. They play so many games that they can't take a chance this early in the season of having a permanent injury to a great player like Magic. So it's good thinking for them to give him as much rest as they possibly can give him, so he's ready to go when the time comes.
Well, we're going to see if the Detroit Lions are ready to go when the time comes. 2 minutes, 46 seconds remain in the half here at Mile High Stadium. Detroit trails Denver 17-0. They have the ball 3rd and 5 at the 23-yard line. Well, now they mark it at the 24, so they may have lost a yard on the mark.
Yeah. They've got to make something happen, and they're on the move.
Six defensive backs for the Broncos. Trouble. Ball's loose. Incomplete. Rick Dennison came through. Number 55, and he was joined back there.
Steve Wilson, 45, blitzed also on the play, and he really got penetration and got the quarterback.
I was going to say he was joined by Wilson on the blitz. And Wilson, coming into this ball game, Detroit thought that was the guy they could pick on.
That's right. And of course, it's hard to pick on him when he's blitzing. And the way the ball flew up in the air, I thought Long might have to signal for a fair catch.
Eddie Murray to attempt a 42-yard field goal to get Detroit on the board. It's low, and it's no good. Off to the right. It was a low line drive. It had just enough distance, but it was off to the right.
Talking about Eddie Murray, the great kicker he's been, he's really only made one of his last 5 field goals. And Murray was 0 for 3 in the other game on surface, on grass. He does not kick nearly as well on grass as he does on synthetic turf.
Hank, the Lions had a 45-yard field goal attempt to win the game against Green Bay last week and missed it.
Yes, right.
Look at these, the most accurate kickers that are active. The Andersons, Lowry, Eddie Murray's right up there. 1st and 10 from the 24. Pressure, they run the screen. This is Winder. Gets a block and he's out to the 31. There's a flag and it may be holding against Keith Bishop, the guard. We'll wait and see. An illegal block. They threw the flag in the direction of big number 54.
I think you're right.
No infraction on the play. The block was from the side. 2nd down.
They picked the flag up, put it in his pocket. It was from the side, not the back. No penalty.
And Elway acted the play extremely well. The quarterback has to be a very good actor on screens. He got back there, looked like it was going to be a pass, and dumped it off. Beautiful.
All right, let's take you back to your coaching days. They throw a flag, and then they pick it up and look at you and say, no, that wasn't a penalty. What do you say?
If it's in our favor, I think it's great.
2nd and 3 from the 31. Winder to the 35 and bulls his way to the 36-yard line. And we have arrived at the 2-minute warning. Gibson and Rogers made the tackle. It's still 17-0 Denver.
Your team. You know, I never forget we played here in a Monday night game of '74, and we played the same way in the first half. And I was very disturbed because we had won 9 out of 10 Monday night games. And I just told them very politely, I said, listen, you know, I don't want any imposters playing in the second half. No imposters. And the guys, and after I look at the film and I find out you don't play like you're supposed to play, you're going to play the game for nothing. Understand that? For nothing. We went on to win the game 42-34.
1st and 10, they run the middle screen. Gene Lang with a nice move. Across midfield, looking for a block to the 35 before he's knocked out of bounds there by Rafael Cherry. And Ricky Nattiel had a block that sprung him.
Ricky Nattiel made an incredible block out by the sideline. You don't see receivers making those kind of blocks very often, but this is a gem. And here again, a good job of blocking, gets good rush up the middle, sets it up perfectly. Watch over here in the sideline. Watch this block. Watch Nattiel. There it is. A beautiful shot on Ricky Smith.
Take another look from this angle, Hank.
Look at this on Ricky Smith. Watch this block. Beautiful. Head in front and really knocks him right, drives him right into the ground.
He had to get up and straighten his Rydell. Didn't know if it was on correctly.
He thought that somebody made a telephone call. He had a telephone in his helmet.
29-yard pickup thanks to that guy, Ricky Nattiel. Oh, what a block.
Nice. And I say, you know, you don't get outside very often, Timmy. You don't get outside very often with a run or the pass unless the outside receivers can block for you. That was a great illustration of why that play went. He made a fantastic block.
Ricky Nattiel, Denver's first-round draft pick last spring. He runs a 4.35 40. Big play receiver out of Florida, and he showed us something on that play.
And the Denver Broncos now have to show themselves something here and get points on the scoreboard, preferably 7. They've stopped themselves on a couple of occasions and have provided the Lions with the opportunity to get back in this ball game. Fortunately for Denver, the Lions have stopped themselves too and made mistakes, but they have to get a touchdown here or some points.
All right, that's what Denver has to do. Now let's go to the other side of the line of scrimmage. I would assume, Hank, that Detroit now badly has to shut things down here. They can't afford to give up more points to Denver.
You're right, but they haven't been able to do that all afternoon, and that's going to be quite a chore and quite a responsibility.
Well, Ricky Smith is just now getting up from that block by Ricky Nattiel, and they're helping him off across the field. Boy, Washington looks strong. You know, that's a club where the strike really helped them.
Well, going into the season, everybody talked so much about the Giants and the Chicago Bears, and nobody mentioned Ricky Smith going off the field. I'm glad to see he's walking as well as he is, because that was a savage hit. It looks like Tyson hit it.
Coming up at halftime, don't forget the NFL Today with Brent and Irv, with all the scores and highlights from around the league today. Here at Mile High Stadium, it's 1st and 10 from the 35 for Denver.
Look at the middle. Look at the middle of that deep. Oh, he's rolling out.
Things close down, and he throws it away. Threw it in the direction of Nattiel and just got rid of it because there was an awful lot of pressure coming from big number 77, Keith Ferguson.
And, you know, Gene Lang, I should say, number 33, was wide open on the other side of the field. Wasn't a soul around him when he started the move. Normally, Elway sees that very, very well. He didn't that time. Had he seen it, it would have been a touchdown.
We were talking about the Redskins. Now, the Redskins were banged up before the strike. They lost by a point to Atlanta. The replacements come in, win 3 straight games. The Redskins get healthy during that time off, and here they are now just rolling.
4-man rush. In the middle, if you're going to throw from the pocket, should be a vulnerable area.
2nd and 10. Elway, wide open. Johnson, touchdown. Touchdown, Denver. Vance Johnson. 35-yard touchdown.
Now, there again, Timmy, there again, had he thrown the ball from the pocket, the middle was open. As he started to run, the defense came up, which provided the receiver to be wide open on the outside, Vance Johnson, and he had enough presence, delivers the ball, touchdown Denver. I tell you, Elway is really unbelievable.
Rich Carlos comes on to attempt the extra point. He has yet to miss this year. He's still perfect. And the Broncos are nearly perfect. Boy, how did he get so open?
Well, watch what happens now. Watch Vance Johnson, number 82, on the outside of your screen. He's covered well, but we'll see the defensive back lets him go when he sees the scramble by John Elway. And as a result, he's wide open. The deep back now has to come over to try to pick him up. He overruns the play. He runs into the end zone. A couple of missed tackles, but he goes into the end zone and makes the touchdown. But that's what happens. That's what happens to the defense when you have a quarterback who can move like Elway.
Vance Johnson, the 1982 NCAA long jump champion.
Here we see it again. Pressure inside. Gay is pushed beyond the quarterback. Look, he runs left. They drop the coverage. He's wide open on the outside. Cherry overruns the play, number 45, and he cuts back inside and goes in for the touchdown.
When we get a chance, we're going to talk about Elway's passing motion. That thing's like a coiled spring up on his shoulder.
Well, it is, and as I mentioned earlier, he throws the ball like a big league catcher, right from the ear, and gets rid of it very quickly.
He was drafted by the Kansas City Royals out of high school, batted .491 as a prep star. Did you know Elway, Dan Marino, and Jay Schrader all were drafted ahead of Don Mattingly?
I didn't know that until they told us that yesterday. That was a surprise.
Gary Lee for the Detroit Lions to the 15 to the 17-yard line, and he's taken down by a very emotional special teams for the Denver Broncos.
You know, the crowd here hasn't gotten into the game as nearly as much as they usually do. Obviously, because they went ahead so quickly, they're getting more involved in the game, and I think that's very important for the Denver Broncos to maintain a high level of the emotional aspect of the game.
Well, the fans have to get back in sync like the players. It's been 6 weeks since the regulars have played here
You're
at
right.
Mile High Stadium.
If you're not careful, it looks like a parlor game.
James Jones and Carl Bernard come into the ball game. The setbacks here in shotgun formation. 1st and 10 on the 18 for Long. They give inside to James Jones to the 21-yard line. That's where Steve Wilson makes the tackle. See the time there. This is in the first half. We've got 1:10 remaining.
And Mecklenburg is all over the place. Now he's playing defensive right end.
2nd and 7 for Long. Intercepted, almost dropped. Randy Robbins, number 48, again had the ball in his hands. I think he was reading headlines before he caught the football.
Yeah, he was looking at the end zone, thinking he was going to change the scoreboard and drop the football. Randy Robbins, number 48.
It was intended for Carl Bernard, but oh, watch how Robbins just steps in. How did he miss it?
I don't know how he missed it, except he had to take his eye off the ball. Look at. Throws the ball right over the top. Good anticipation. The ball is thrown a little bit behind the receiver, and for that reason, he had a chance to make this interception. Just dropped it. That's all. Just dropped it.
3rd and 6. Chuck Long goes deep. And a flag flies. Carl Bland, number 80, was the receiver. Steve Wilson, the cornerback, was defending, and there's a flag, and it's going to be against Wilson. We'll wait for the call, but Wilson doesn't like it.
One thing they did, they got the matchup they wanted. They want to work on Wilson going into the game. I personally thought he made a great play. Let's see it on the replay.
Well, obviously there's a discussion, and the officials have picked up one flag this afternoon and corrected themselves.
Pass interference, number 45 defense. First down.
That's Wilson.
You know, really, I thought he got his hand up there just in time. We'll see it on the replay here in just a second. Steve Wilson, number 45. When he gets his hand up, I don't know whether he bumped. He must have got a shoulder into the receiver, Bland, but it looked like his timing to the hand coming up was perfect.
Look at this. They look like they're joined at the hip, but he's going for the football.
Yes, he is. To me, it looks like a bad call.
1st and 10 from the 49. Long has another completion. Butch Wolfhook takes it at the 41-yard line, and we've got 42 seconds remaining in the half.
I'm going to tell you something. That Long is really something as a young quarterback. Really, he's a rookie. He didn't go to training camp last year, so he's just a rookie. But I just can't believe how poised and confident he is back there in the pocket.
He started only 5 games. And this time he's sacked at the 48-yard line. Rulon Jones, Michael Brooks.
But every time there's a big play that's either Jones or it's Mecklenburg. And Rogers has to be very disappointed on the sideline.
As does Long with 26 seconds remaining in the half.
Leo McKern for the investment firm. 26
seconds remaining in the half. 24-0 Denver. Is the game over?
Well, I think, as far as who wins or loses the game, I think really that it's going to be very, very difficult the way they're playing for the Detroit Lions to come back and win this game. Now, a lot is going to be contingent on what happens at halftime. They have to come out smoking in the second half. If they can do that, then I think they've got a chance to come back in the ball game. But they're going to have to do something very, very dramatic at the beginning of the third quarter.
Controversy, turmoil this week with the Detroit Lions has been well documented. This club is 1-5. There has been talk that Darryl Rogers, the head coach, is in trouble, and it looks now like that is all taking effect on this Lion ball club. 3rd and 12 from the 49. And again, it is complete to Butch Wolfhook. He takes it up to the 42-yard line. Randy Robbins runs him out of bounds. So it'll be 4th down and a long 3. Do you go for it here, Hank?
Oh, sure, you have to go for it.
20 seconds remaining in the half.
Have to go for it when you're down by 24. You have to try to make something happen and give your team something to hang their head on at halftime if that's possible.
6 defensive backs now for Denver. Long has a man wide open. It's Wolfhook, and he goes out at the 31-yard line, close to the 30. That's where Randy Robbins takes him out. We've got 14 seconds remaining, and it's a first down for Detroit. Darryl Rogers yelling out to his quarterback, calling the play. Chuck Long says that he likes to call the plays, likes to audibilize in the 2-minute offense, in the hurry-up offense. But he says if there is time, he will look to the sidelines to get help.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to rely on the sideline in 2-minute offense. You have to have control of the situation.
Long with pressure up the middle. Incomplete.
And Denver is doing a good thing. They're trying to make sure that they don't catch anything outside to stop the clock. They're trying to keep everything inside the sidelines, so that takes up an awful lot of time. Now there's 9 seconds left in the first half.
Rulon Jones came through and applied the pressure and got a pretty good lick on Long after the ball was released. It was intended for Jeff Chadwick. 9 seconds left now, Hank, in the half. Denver stays with its dime defense. 6 defensive backs. Chuck Long goes deep. Manley has a step and can't hold on.
I tell you, he threw the ball. You can't throw it any better than that.
Boy, Manley had Plummer beaten, too.
Yes, he did. He had it. The ball was... Boy, the ball was thrown beautiful. Look at this. Got plenty of time to throw the ball. Steps, throws it downfield over the top of the defensive back. Manley jumps up and has the ball and should have made the catch, just dropped it on the way down. A beautiful throw by Chuck Long.
Manley, a 4th-year pro out of Northern Arizona, a number 2 pick in 1984, came into this game with 20 receptions, 3rd among NFC receivers. 47-yard field goal attempt by Eddie Murray, and it is no good. And so, as the half comes to an end, Detroit squanders another opportunity, and Denver still leads 24-0.
Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Carlos gets a long kickoff. Gary Lee takes it in the end zone and will not return it. Well, it has been all Denver to this point. We've said that. We've been redundant, and yet these statistics back us up. It is one-sided. Look at the passing yards, 186 for Denver, Hank.
Yeah, look at the time of possession, 18-11. But it's been no question about this. It's been a one-sided game from the very beginning. And it's going to be important to see what they do on this initial drive of the third quarter, talking about the Detroit Lions.
So it's 1st and 10. The ball on the 20. The Detroit Lions have it first. Jones and James are the setbacks for Chuck Long. Off the left side goes Gary James. Picks up 1, maybe 2. And he's hit by Carl Mecklenburg. And Mecklenburg really seemed intent on coming in and proving something to these fans. He had a little situation where he tore up an autograph from a little kid who was walking into a replacement game, and the fans here in Denver did not like that. They got on him. He came out last week. He did not have a sack, and some of the people wrote to the newspaper this week and jumped all over him, and we talked to him, and it bothered him a little bit. He came into this game with a lot of incentive. 2nd and 8. Long across the middle, and it is complete to his tight end, Jimmy Giles. Ricky Hundley makes the tackle there. And Hank, I would assume that if you're a ball player and somebody jumps on you, that'll be a motivating factor.
Yes, it should be. If you're the right kind of people and the people who have a chance to win, I think, as I mentioned earlier, I don't think you can use that as an excuse to lose. You got to use it as a reason to win. Somehow, some way, use it as a reason to win. And so far, they haven't taken that approach.
Dan Reeves says he's looking at this game almost like a 4th exhibition game. That's where they are in this season.
Well, they won the 1st exhibition game, or 4th exhibition game for John Elway and the receivers. They did a remarkable job.
6 defensive backs shut down that play. It was a pass across the middle intended for James Jones, broken up by Rick Dennison.
The other thing I think that is going to be very important, Detroit's going to have to throw the ball a lot, very obviously, in the second half. I think they have to move the pocket. I don't think they can let Long stay in that pocket for the second half and expect to get any productivity, I should say, out of the passing game. They have to move him a little bit to get away from that rush.
Well, I'll tell you, he took a pretty good lick that time. Jim Arnold now to punt on 4th down. Ricky Nattiel, number 84, is at the 35-yard line. High wobbly kick. It'll be taken at the 34. Nattiel. There is a flag on this play. Nattiel gets to the outside, and he'll get it back to the 44-yard line, and now a flag flies over there. He may have been hit out of bounds. Number 42, John Bostic, was there, grabbed him and took him out of bounds. So there is a flag on both sides of the field. Just underway, second half, 13:24 remain, third quarter. Tim Brandt and Hank Stram at Mile High Stadium.
That tackle on the far side of the field, Timmy, from here, of course, we don't get a great look at it, but we'll see it in a minute, I'm sure. But it looked like that he was in a process of trying to make a tackle. I don't think it looked like it was a flagrant thing at all, like he was trying to do something late.
Referee Jerry Seaman, the umpire Rex Stewart, head linesman Leo Miles, and here is Jerry Seaman. Holding against Denver, personal foul against Detroit. Here's the end of that play.
Yeah,
Nattiel's the ball carrier, 84, Hank.
Yeah, let's see what happens now.
Bostic has him. That's not a late hit.
It surely doesn't sound like, now, unless they call it on 96.
Even 96, Paul Butcher hit him when he was in bounds.
But it didn't look like, it looked like he was trying to get him down.
Illegal block during the return, number 38, receiving team. Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, kicking team. We have offsetting fouls. First down.
Bruce Plummer was called for the illegal block, but I don't agree with the Lions call. Neither does Darrell Rogers.
No, that's a close one. That's a tough one. Because I think, he was in a process of trying to wrestle away from the tackler, and in the process got hit. To me, it looked like a bad call.
It was. He was still in bounds. Nonetheless, it's 1st and 10 at the 45 for Denver. Sammy Winder, Gene Lang are the setbacks. Jackson in motion. Elway to throw. With plenty of time. Goes deep. Johnson drops it. Vance Johnson had worked himself free on the post pattern, and he was wide open. Hank Stram.
Boy, that's unusual. You talk about an unusual drop. I'm talking to Dan Reeves before the game. He said he's our best receiver. He's our most dependable receiver. Look how open he is. Somebody blew coverage. The ball is perfect, and it went right through there like a two-point play. Watch Elway's reaction. Look at Elway.
He says, come on, guys.
Can't believe it.
It would have been a 55-yard touchdown. Instead, it'll be 2nd and 10 at Denver's own 45-yard line. Sewell moves to the wideout. Gene Lang, the lone setback. Elway, the middle screen. And Gene Lang carries it up to midfield. That's where Vernon Maxwell makes the tackle.
It's the second time they've run the middle screen. They're getting a good rush up the middle. And a middle screen against that kind of rush is very productive. They made good gains on both middle screens that they've run so far.
Vance Johnson comes back in. He's had time to, I want to say to think about it. He's had time to forget about it.
Yeah, he didn't want to think about that. He wants to forget about it as soon as he possibly can.
Boy, he runs a 4.36 40, and he was doing it at least at that time. 6 defensive backs now for the Lions on 3rd and 5 from midfield. Elway to the 45, the 40, to the 30-yard line. He'll run out of bounds at the 24-yard line. Rafael Cherry took him out there. The fans wanted another flag. They thought Cherry may have hit Elway late. And John Elway has just gone over 1,000 yards for his career.
Here he is, back in the shotgun. And look at that left side where Bishop is. The only guy there is the official, the umpire. Look at it, he runs right away from the defensive back, breaks to the outside, changes the ball, and Cherry finally knocks him out of bounds. Number 45, Cherry, knocks him out of bounds.
Elway has led AFC quarterbacks in rushing 3 straight years. He's just gone over 1,000 yards rushing for his career. 1st and 10 from the 24. Lang gives ground and now picks up some yardage down to the 20-yard line. That's where Shelton Robinson made the tackle. Sammy Winder, the ball carrier. Correction. Tim Brannon, Hank Stram from Mile High Stadium in Denver, Colorado. For the Denver Broncos, the real Denver Broncos, making their first appearance here in 6 weeks, and they are putting on some kind of show. They lead the Detroit Lions 24-0. John Elway scored early on a 3-yard touchdown. Carlos in the 28-yard field goal. Dennis Smith then made an interception. Sammy Winder converted on a 2-yard run. It was 17-0, and then Vance Johnson scored to make it 24-0. So Steve Sewell now in the reverse, and he's run out of bounds on the 23.
They come at you from all angles. Every possible play that you can imagine, they've got it. And the same is true with formations. Dennis Gibson that time, 98, really made a good play and made the tackle on that reverse. It looked initially like it was going to be a much bigger play than that.
You know, Steve Sewell has a lot of the versatility that Will Height had. Lines up at running back, wide receiver.
Yes, he does. He's got a lot of ability.
3rd and long for Elway. Pocket closes up. There's a flag, and Elway goes down. If it stands, it'll be a 9-yard sack. The penalty is against Detroit. William Gay, 79, made the tackle. That will be negated.
Illegal hands to the face. Number 60 defense. The ball will be put back to the line of scrimmage. 1st down.
That's Reggie Rogers, the defensive end. Guilty of the infraction.
You see him on the left side of the screen. There he evidently tries to give him a little massage in the face and got caught in the process.
1st down for Elway on the little waggle. This is Steve Sewell, and it's complete down to the 16-yard line. Rafael Cherry makes the hit.
Play action fake again. You know, that's a great thing. The package is so diversified in that you roll out, you play action. You never know. It's like a pitcher in the big leagues. You know, you cannot win consistently with just one pitch. You got to have a variety of pitches, and that's the same with a quarterback. If he's over here one time, over there another time, up the middle another time, runs another time, he's hard, very hard to keep track of.
It'll be 2nd and 5. This is Winder. Winder down close to the 10-yard line. You know, Elway has led his club, Hank, to more wins over the last 3 years than any other quarterback in the NFL, with the exception of Dan Marino, 37.
Yeah, and you know, the amazing thing about it is that as much as he runs, it's a wonder that he stays healthy like he does. Keith Bishop that time, the left guard, made another good block. I mentioned him so many times so far in this game, but he is a terrific pulling guard. Number 54 in the left guard of the Denver Broncos.
Bishop was the first offensive lineman ever to be named to the Pro Bowl from the Denver Broncos. First and 10 from the 11. Winder takes it inside the 10. Dennis Gibson makes the tackle there.
Winder went a very wide on the play, and it took a great effort on the part of Elway to reach him. He kind of lunged to reach him and get him the ball. A lot of times that's a fumble.
26-yard run by John Elway in this series. He now has 3 carries, 35 yards. The longest run of the regular season. 10 minutes exactly remaining in the third quarter. Broncos lead 24-0 over Detroit. Second and long.
Look at all the room on that right side. There it is.
Oh, Winder drops it. And that's the third time we've seen a Bronco with the ball hit in between the numbers, the 2 and the 3, and have it dropped.
It looked like they didn't have enough men in the field, which is not the case, but that's how wide open that area was. And it didn't take Elway long to see it, get the ball out there, except that they dropped the football.
Vance Johnson missed one moments ago, wide open down inside the 10. It would have been a 55-yard touchdown strike, and he dropped it. 9 plays, 46 yards, 3 minutes and 48 seconds. What a drive. 3rd and 8 for Elway.
He likes to draw in this area a lot of the times. It's a good place for a quarterback draw. Goes outside.
Sewell has a blocker in front of him inside the 10, loses the football. The Lions get it at the 2-yard line. It was recovered by Jimmy Williams at the 2-yard line. So Denver stops itself.
Here's a replay, throwing a quick screen to the outside. Blocking down front. Tries to cut back. The ball pops loose up into the air. Williams, 59, recovers a fumble. Jimmy Williams, number 59.
Boy, what an impressive guy he is, Hank. We had a long talk with Williams yesterday. Very, very impressive, intelligent young man. Brother of Toby, who plays for New England.
He made some good observations.
Gary James, James Jones, the setbacks in the I formation in their own end zone. Just barely get out of there.
Close to being a safety. Very close to being a safety. I don't know whether it is or not, but it's close.
His forward progress got him out of there. Ricky Hundley and Andre Townsend got there quickly, though. Watch the linebackers, Hank.
Look at Mecklenburg, 77.
Watch Hundley.
Look at Hundley come in there, 98. But he did. He came out of there, just barely got out of there, but it was close.
They just barely got out, all right. The ball now marked just outside the goal line on the 1.
They ought to try to throw the ball deep downfield and get out of the soup, try to make something happen.
Again, they run the ball. They take it out to the 7. At least now they have some breathing room. Carl Mecklenburg made the tackle along with Mike Harden. Boy, James Jones, I'm sorry, Hank, just barely had enough room to get out of there.
Look at the 7 positions. Left end twice, nose tackle twice, right end 5, linebacker 2, inside 6, right inside 7, right outside 3. Boy, you better know where he's lined up.
3rd down and 3. If he got it, it's a big first down for Detroit because they were some kind of backed up. James Jones will be close, and I think he got it, Hank.
Yeah, I think he did too. And I asked Mecklenburg yesterday what position of all the 7 he liked the most. He said, I like to play the strong inside linebacker position most of all.
And then we leaned over and we looked at number 50, Jim Ryan, and we said, how about you, Jim? He says, I go wherever Mecklenburg goes.
He goes the opposite spot. Mecklenburg goes one place, he goes the other spot.
He'd like to stay in his hip pocket. First down for Chuck Long. At least now he's got some room and time. And a man open. Complete across the middle. Jeff Chadwick, number 89, made the catch. He's out of Grand Valley State, a 5-year pro, 6'3", 190. Chadwick is a fine receiver, but his career has been plagued by injuries. He's not especially fast or quick, but he does have a knack for getting open. Makes a good target, too, Hank, at 6'3".
Well, he does. He runs. He's a good pattern runner.
Had an Achilles tendon problem last year. 2 years ago was the collarbone. 2nd and 1 from the 22. Pressure. Knocked down by Greg Cragen.
I still think they have to move him some. Timmy, I'm talking about the quarterback. Moving him from side to move him a little bit at least so he doesn't have to stay in the same spot, and they can't tee off on him and know where he's going to be every time they rush.
All right, 3rd and short now, Hank. Tell us about the Denver short yardage defense, which has really been effective.
Well, you know, they put everybody in the gap, and they play the middle linebacker on the remaining back. He gets a running jump. They're all in there very tight. He keys the remaining back and the running back, and they get great penetration is what they do. Great penetration. But this time, they ran outside, which is the place to run because you got everybody in the gap. The place to run is to kick out, block down, and try to make yardage, which they did extremely well that time.
Gary James almost broke it. Tony Lilly, 22, made the tackle, and Lilly is a little bit shaken up.
Of course, that defense, the short yardage, is a better defense the way they play it on the goal line because there's not as much room for the offense to matriculate, you see. In this particular case on the field, the best place to go is outside, and they hit it. They hit the vulnerable spot.
1st down, Detroit at the 30. It looks like the Broncos jumped. Cragen was across the line, number 71. We'll see if he was drawn.
Encroachment prior to the snap. Number 71 defense, still 1st down.
Don't forget, coming up next week on CBS Sports, college football continues. And number 4, Florida State goes against 6th-ranked Auburn. And that should be some kind of Donnybrook. Jeff Berger, the quarterback for Auburn. Sammy Smith doing an outstanding job for Florida State.
Who do you like in
Bobby
the game?
Bowden.
How do you like it?
Bobby Bowden's one whale of a coach, but Auburn last night looked so strong. Hank, and Berger just looks like a quality quarterback that never loses his composure.
Yeah, I really think I'm going to pick Florida State. I think they'll emerge to win.
It was complete to Jimmy Giles across the middle. However, there are flags. Dennis Smith made the tackle there. And it is against Detroit. So the Lions continue to hurt themselves. I'll tell you this about Florida State. That Bobby Bowden, he wins when nobody expects it. I saw him going to Nebraska year before last.
Still 1st down.
He was like a 14-point underdog and just took it to the Cornhuskers.
I'd like to know when the last time it was when he had a losing season or a bad season. He's had a tremendous record there, hasn't he, Tim?
He sure has. He's
But
been
you're
successful
right.
everywhere.
In those big games, he's done a terrific job.
Of course, you can't sell Pat Dye short either.
No. It just appears that Florida State has more ways to win because of the great versatility of their offense.
1st and 15 from the 25. Again, there's pressure on Long. He throws, and it's complete to Chadwick out to the 47-yard line. Mike Harden makes the stop there, but Chadwick worked himself free nicely.
Long, I tell you, he's incredible. And I asked him yesterday if he had a choice to throw one pattern, what would it be? He says inside. That was the pattern, his favorite pattern, and he threw it beautifully right on the numbers, a perfect strike.
Chadwick, a free agent in 1983 out of Grand Valley State. He was timed by some scouts, Hank, at 4.75 in the 40. They said, hey, no chance. They didn't even look at him. They didn't even bother with him. His teammate Rob Rubik here told the Lions, hey, he's faster than that, and he can catch. They went and timed him at 4.5, and here he is. 22-yard pickup, 1st and 10 from the 47. Manley has the completion, and he's out maybe a yard short of a 1st down. Carl Mecklenburg makes the tackle.
Yeah, as a young quarterback, watch his right foot. Instead of getting back into the pocket with a 1st step, he goes forward with it. And that's something that he'll learn to overcome as he goes along in the professional football. He takes a false step. Say, now that step should be going backwards, but instead it's going forward. I asked him about that yesterday, and he said, well, I'm a little concerned because our center is short-legged, and I'm afraid that I won't get the exchange, so I take that step to protect myself. But still, he has to ride the hands and get back in the pocket quicker.
2nd and 2, Long is sacked. Ricky Hundley and Walt Boyer got there about the same time. They'll share the sack.
You know, Ricky Hundley reminds me a great deal of our great middle linebacker, Willie Lanier. Look at this. Look at now Mecklenburg again on the outside, going to the outside, and look at the inside pressure. Look at Hundley coming up the middle, makes the stop. Great penetration. Again, great anticipation. The other thing that's important is that the offense has to change the count often enough, Timmy, so that the defense doesn't get the rhythm of the offensive count. You have to do quick counts. You have to go long counts. You have to keep them off balance. Plus the fact, I think it's imperative that you move the pocket some.
Illegal contact while the quarterback was still in the pocket. Number 31 defense, 5 yards, previous spot. First down.
The call is against Mike Harden. We were talking about Hundley. He led their team in tackles last year. That may have been a case with a false step by Long may have cost them. Nonetheless, the penalty moves it back up. It's a first down now for the Lions.
But that's a little thing, but the little things make the big things happen, Timmy. You know, I think you have to work on that particular thing every day in practice, footwork of the quarterback, to make sure he doesn't take any false steps. But it's so important to get back as quickly as possible.
That short center philosophy or theory may hold up. You know, Schrader does that in Washington, especially when he has Jeff Bostic at center, who is also short. James Jones picks up a couple. Take a look now at some of the action around the NFC East. Philadelphia wins again, this time over St. Louis, 28-23. Cunningham, boy, he's coming on, gets better every week.
Yeah, he's another guy that moves so well.
Washington, we talked about them, Hank, how they're getting better, healthier, and stronger. And this is the way it looks now in the Eastern Division. The Redskins taking a command a 6-1 lead. You still think the Giants are alive?
I don't think there's any question about it. They play Dallas tomorrow night in Dallas. I'll be doing a game for CBS Radio. I guarantee you they're still in the hunt.
2nd and 9 now from the 39 for Long. Has a man open. James Jones inside the 30 to the 28-yard line. Mark Haynes and Rick Dennison taking down, but the Lions now commanding a threat.
You know, the amazing thing about Long is that he doesn't get the ball up close to his ear and immediately coming back into the pocket. It's down about waist high sometimes and about number high, but it's incredible how fast he gets it back in a triggered position and releases the ball once he sees a guy open.
Now, we talked about this yesterday. See, that doesn't bother me. I watched Sonny Jurgensen for years throw, and he'd bring it from up there, but I know you always got your quarterbacks to keep it up on their ear, and you were very successful doing that.
Well, I think the good quarterbacks, the great quarterbacks, you know, see, look where that ball is right now. It's down. Of course, now he's running. He's got to keep it a little lower so he can use his arms to run. But you got to get that ball up there high enough because the difference in the timing of the play, a lot of times, you know, you see the guy open, and by the time you bring the ball from the waist up to the shoulder, it's too late. He's out of bounds. And I think if you have... Now, the greatest illustration, the comparison is right here in this game. You watch Elway. He brings it right up by the ear and throws the ball from that spot. That's why he gets rid of the ball so quickly and anticipates the opening receiver so well.
It'll be 2nd and 13 from the 31-yard line, almost the 32. Detroit still has the goose egg on the board.
See if
6 defensive backs, Hank, excuse me.
See if they try to work on Wilson here, number 45.
Again, there's pressure on the backside, almost intercepted, played nicely by Randy Robbins, number 48. Let's take a look at some of the scores from the AFC Central. NFC Central, Tampa Bay over Green Bay, 23-17. Ray Perkins. Chicago comes from behind to beat Kansas City, 31-28.
2 weeks in a row they've done that.
And look at Seattle leading Minnesota. Minnesota's regulars have yet to lose. They lost all 3 replacement games. And Detroit, of course, at the bottom. And don't forget, coming up next Sunday on CBS, Chicago and Green Bay. That'll be 12:30 Eastern time.
We got a shot at the slot man there. Look at how open he is.
They need 13. Chadwick can't hold on. Should have made the catch inside the 15. They did work on Steve Wilson. He was the defender. Ball came loose on Chadwick.
Manley was wide open. going into the middle in the seam. There wasn't anybody over him at all. But Long looked to the right, stayed with the right side, and never saw the receiver open up on the left side.
Eddie Murray comes on to attempt the field goal. It'll be a 49-yarder, Hank, and he is 0 for 2. He's missed from 42 and missed from 47.
He's 0 for 5 on grass so far this season.
And this one will not make it. And he's now 0 for 3 here at Mile High Stadium. He's missed from 49, from 47, from 42, and Detroit has yet to score. Into the window of history. The date, September 9th, 1960. Frank Tripucka led the Denver Broncos to a 13-10 victory at Nickerson Field in Boston. It was the first AFL game ever played.
And Tripucka was already a special quarterback and a great guy. I see him on occasions now. He's living in the East, has a beer distributorship, and has done a great job, just like he did in professional football. Was a great quarterback at Notre Dame. Played when I was at Purdue University.
Kelly Tripucka, he's got an athletic family.
Yes, he has.
And he is in the Ring of Fame here at Mile High Stadium. It is 1st and 10 on the 32 for Denver. This is Gene Lang, and Lang takes it out to the 34-yard line. And I would assume now, Hank, that Denver just wants to melt the clock with 1:59 remaining in the third period and leading 24-0.
I would think so. I think they'd like to, just take as much time as they possibly can, as you indicate, and get out of here and get the game over with and make sure they win the game.
As you look at Darryl Rogers and Chuck Long, the Denver Broncos 3-2-1 on the season. They beat Seattle 40-17, tied Green Bay 17-17, and then the strike came. The replacements lost to Houston 40-10, beat the Raiders 30-14, came back and beat Kansas City, and then last week lost to Minnesota. This pass across the middle, and it is complete. Ricky Nattiel made a spectacular catch at the 45, and they're back in Detroit territory. Let's take a look now at the NFC West and what's been happening around the league today, Hank.
New Orleans big over Atlanta, 38-0, and they've got a fine football team there. People don't realize how good they are. Look at this, doesn't surprise you, 24-3 over the Rams.
So this is the way it stands now in the West. 49ers at 5-1. New Orleans at 4-3, still very much in the hunt. Atlanta 2-5, and the Rams 1-5. And I would assume the Rams now, we'll talk about the trade in just a few minutes, but the Rams may struggle for a while now. 1st and 10, Elway throws deep. His arm is hit, the ball still flies, and it's complete. Vance Johnson, number 82, just stood over there and waited for it to come down, almost like an outfielder waiting for a fly.
I think the defensive back was looking, Galloway was looking at the receiver, never saw the ball, and I was surprised. It was funny. He just stood there. All of a sudden, he stopped, stood there, and up came the ball, made the catch, and Galloway never did see it coming down.
Jimmy Williams made the hit on Elway's arm, and it did take forever to come down, I'm sure. Vance Johnson was standing out there saying, come on, come on.
I thought again he was going to signal for a fair catch. He was up there so long.
1st down at the 25 for Denver. Johnson in motion. The give inside is Winder inside the 15 to the 12. James Griffin makes the tackle there, but Sammy Winder almost broke it.
That was a trap. The middle area looked vulnerable, and it was. John Ayers, a right guard, trapping on the play, and Winder coming through there. Watch it. Watch the right guard, Ayers. He gets a good block on the blitzing line, on Gay, number 79. Gay really kind of runs right by the play, and he goes inside and makes a great run and stretches a very average gain into a good one.
And as the third quarter comes to an end, Hank, I'm going crazy here looking at 23 and 33, trying to keep them straight. And then in the Detroit backfield, you've got James and Jones. So at the end of the third quarter, the score remains the same. Denver, 24, Detroit. And as we start the fourth quarter, they have Rocky Mountain Thunder. They wanted to get the noise meter, Hank, up to 10, and the crowd did it. It is 1st down, ball on the 12. Winder and Lang are the backs.
Let's see if they try to pound it in here. They haven't been able to do much of that this year. I think it'd be a good time to try to do it.
Winder, right side. Taken down at the 14-yard line. So he may have lost a yard or two. Galloway came across and supported nicely on the corner. Let's go quickly and look at the AFC West. Chicago over Kansas City. They had to come from behind to do it. New England over the LA Raiders 26-23. And Seattle leads Minnesota in the third quarter. 24-14 now, Cleveland with San Diego. So the AFC West then looks like this with San Diego up top 5-1, Seattle at 4-2, and Denver today looks healthy. Elway on second and long. Has it complete to Gene Lang. Bruce McNorton made the tackle on the 7-yard line.
There's a great illustration of the way Elway delivers the ball right from his ear, gets rid of it quickly, and gets it out there in the flat to Winder. Watch him go back in the pocket and watch the ball come up here. It's higher up above the number. It's in a good position to throw the ball, and there it is. Gets rid of it quickly, but it's not down there below the number like a lot of quarterbacks have a tendency to carry the ball.
Third
quarterback draw.
Elway, touchdown, Broncos.
I thought maybe he'd run it the last time they were there, but they run it now.
You don't know whether you want to analyze their style or admire it. He is some talent.
And there's no greater place in the field to run a draw play for a score than on about the 7 or 8 yard line, because they're usually playing man-for-man coverage. Everybody's chasing everybody. The quarterback is not accounted for. And by the time they recover to make the tackle, he's right at the goal line and going in for the touchdown.
7-yard touchdown run. He has 4 carries, 42 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. This is Rich Carlos. And Hank, it is over.
No question about it.
Elway, no question on the draw. And he's strong. When he gets hit, he's 6'3", 212 pounds, 28 years old. The leader of the Denver Broncos, John Elway. Very durable, gutsy quarterback. Elway had missed only 3 starts in 3 seasons prior to this year's strike season. And Hank, his 2-touchdown running today, his 2-touchdown performance is the first time that he's rushed for 2 touchdowns as a pro.
And add talent, God-gifted talent to all of the other qualities that you just mentioned. He is something. I think maybe we might see Kubiak. He's warming up, get cranked up on the sideline. We might see him from here on in.
This is Gary Lee to the 20, has a block to the 30, to the 35, and is knocked out of bounds at the 39-yard line. K.C. Clark took him out there, but nice return by Gary Lee.
But Gary Lee, a great illustration again. He's got a big running room, a big alley. He's got the ball in the wrong arm. He can't protect himself to ward off a would-be tackler.
Into Mile High Stadium, Detroit knew that it would be a very tough place to play. You played here and had your teams play here many times. How'd you do in this stadium?
Well, we were very fortunate because we had good players, and we won. I forget, we played up here 15 times, and I think we won 12 times or 13 times during that course. I think we won 13 times here, and overall, why we won about 27 games in that series. So it was a lot of fun for us. It wasn't fun leaving the stadium, however.
First down for Long, and it has been a long afternoon. Completes this one to Jeff Chadwick, and Mark Haynes makes the tackle. Well, we talked about the Rocky Mountain Thunder, and this crowd has been loud, and just about every seat is taken. 75,172. That's the 131st straight sellout, excluding the strike. That's second in the NFL only to Washington. 18 straight years of sellouts.
I'll tell you,
that's impressive.
This is an incredible area for fans. Even back in the old days of the American Football League, these people always did a great job. And I was reminded of that when I saw Mr. and Mrs. Phipps walk into the press box tonight. It was a great, great joy for me to see them because they were really terrific, terrific people. Did a great job in the early days of the American Football League, and they helped make all of this happen right here in Denver.
Gary James picks up a couple. And so the Lions now will have 3rd down and 2 at the 48. I think the talk of the league this weekend has been the big trade. Eric Dickerson, Indianapolis, Cornelius Bennett to Buffalo, and the Rams get 2 1s, 2 2s, a third, and 2 players.
I tell you, it worked out to be a bonanza.
third down and 2, ball across the middle intended for Chadwick, and it is incomplete. So the Detroit Lions will have to punt it away. More scores. Let's go to the AFC in the East. Pittsburgh lost to Miami 35-24. Marino, big day, 4 touchdowns. 26-23, New England over the Raiders. That a final. And Indianapolis beat the Jets 19-14. Buffalo lost to Washington. I thought that game would be closer. So it's Indianapolis at the top. Indianapolis now could become a power. 4-3 record, and New England 4-3 record. What will Dickerson mean to that club, huh?
Well, I think he mean a touchdown a game. I really do. I think he'd be a touchdown, an extra touchdown a game for the Indianapolis Colts.
Jim Arnold gets a very high kickoff, a spiraling kick. Natil will let it hit at the 6, and it'll go through into the end zone for a touchback. So they'll bring it out to the 20. 52-yard punt. We'll return to Mile High Stadium after this word from your local station. The Denver Broncos have lambasted the Detroit Lions. The score 31-0. We've got 11:39 remaining in the ball game, and a new quarterback, Gary Kubiak, comes in, replacing John Elway. Steve Sewell with a big gain here across the 30 to the 32-yard line.
This is the first time I had occasion to see Kubiak in person. They like him very much. He's been a very successful quarterback for the Denver Broncos whenever he's had a chance to play.
Kubiak, a 5th-year pro out of Texas A&M, 6 feet, 192 pounds. The Broncos now have 2 tight ends, Kay and Mobley. Johnson and Jackson are the wideouts. Steve Sewell still in the ball game, along with Sammy Winder. Winder comes out. Sewell is in the ball game. This will be 1st and 10 from the 32. Kubiak across the middle. Mobley has it. And he's hit by Shelton Robinson. Some of the other scores coming in today. In the AFC, Cincinnati, a loser to Houston, 31-29. Moon, 1-yard touchdown run with 55 seconds left, and they've been coming from behind for wins.
And look at Miami coming back. They were losing in this game. They won at 35-24. San Diego bites the dust, 24-14. Here's the standings. Houston 5-2. Cleveland 4-2. Pittsburgh 4. You know, a lot of people think that the Houston is not a good football team, that they'll, eventually go into tank. I guarantee you they're a lot better than people think they are. We did the first game against the Rams. They got a lot of talent on the football team, don't they, Jim?
They sure do. This is Sewell for 2. I want to ask you, do you think Moon can take him to the title in that division?
I don't think there's any question about it. He's a great talent. He has all the ability and skill in the world, and there's no question with a better supporting cast like he has now, I don't think there's any question about the fact that he can get that done.
Ken Bell comes into the ball game along with Gene Lang as Steve Sewell goes out. Next Saturday on CBS, the quest for the NBA crown. 2 o'clock Eastern Time, 12 o'clock Central. Mountain Time. And Hank, who do you like in the NBA? I asked you that earlier. You like the Lakers?
Yeah, I liked them about 20 minutes ago, and I still like them, Tim. I think they're going to be the team to beat again. They got too much talent, all kinds of talent.
Let's talk about this Denver team. Kubiak leads them to a 1st down. A lot of talk this week about them trying to acquire a running back, and there was some criticism in the Denver papers that the Denver Broncos did not go after Dickerson, although they do need a running back.
Well, that's wrong. That's not the case at all. You have to know Mr. Bolin. You have to know John Beek, Dan Reeves, and this organization. They want to win more than anything in the world, and they're going to do everything they can to help upgrade this football team. They tried to work out something for the Dickerson, Dickerson, and they didn't succeed in getting it done. And they also talked to Dallas about Dorsett. But the fact that you talk to people about the possibility of a trade doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to make that trade, especially if you're a winning team like the Denver Broncos, because they say, well, why wouldn't they trade Dickerson to the Denver Broncos? They wouldn't trade him because they know that probably they'd get a lot better draft choices for a team like Indianapolis and a team like Buffalo. And that's exactly what turned out to be the case. And so oftentimes, even though they're silently trying to make a deal, it doesn't happen.
Kubiak was sacked by Jimmy Williams. It'll be 2nd and 16 for Denver. Kubiak again under pressure. They run the screen over the middle. And there's not much there. Reggie Rogers closed it down nicely on Gene Lang. Some more scores as they come in. Tampa Bay over Green Bay, 23-17. 31-28, Chicago. Seattle in the fourth quarter leading Minnesota 21-10. And this is the way the Central Division looks now, with Chicago on top 6-1. They had to come from behind to do that. Now next Sunday on CBS, Chicago Green Bay, 12:30 Eastern time, and Dallas at Detroit. That game has been changed to a 4 o'clock kick, 4 o'clock Eastern time. 3rd and 15. Shotgun formation, Kubiak. With time, throws across the middle to a quick tight end, and it is complete. To the 45, they'll mark it at the 44-yard line. Ivory Sully made the tackle there. Clarence Kay has missed some today, but he makes that catch for a 17-yard gain.
Look at this. He ought to be with Barnum and Bailey. It looks like an acrobat here. Look at this. Look at this. A little flip, but he maintains possession of the ball. And a first down for the Denver Broncos.
That's pretty good mobility and flexibility for a guy 6'2", 237.
That's right.
Looks like you, Hank.
Yeah, it does.
6:55 remaining in the ball game now. Lang and Bell, the two backs with Kubiak. Not much. Pickup of 3.
Well, this is a good time, as we talked about earlier, for a team like Denver to really work on their running game. They're such a balanced team. They like to throw the ball so much. This is a good time for them to get something done. Timing and execution, especially with the fact that they've missed so many games during the strike, specifically 3. They'll get a chance to brush up on that running game a little bit from here on through the rest of the game.
2nd and 7 at the 41. Heard Will McDonough say there's some talk about O.J. Anderson coming to Denver.
Well, there's a lot of talk about a lot of things happening, and I think, you know, the best way to make a trade is not to talk about it, because once you get it in the papers, why, you know, it creates a lot of problems. But I think the best trades most of the time are the ones that you never anticipate, and all of a sudden, boom, they make them, and you're surprised.
Big pickup by Gene Lang, another first down for Denver. Don't forget, coming up next Saturday on CBS Sports, Florida State ranked 4th against Auburn, 6th ranked and undefeated, 7-0-1 their record.
I picked Florida State. I think they'll emerge and minister a little lump.
You know something.
Just a feeling.
Coaches get that, I guess. First down. This is Sewell. Breaks the tackle down inside the 30 to the 28 or the 23-yard line. Raphael Cherry makes the tackle there. Sewell looks impressive.
Mobley that time went in motion and made a block on a linebacker and decked him. I can't see specifically who it is. He's on the ground. But he really gave him a shot. And he's still on the...
It's Dennis Gibson, the linebacker.
Yeah.
We've got 5 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in the game here. The Broncos lead it 31-0.
Portland.
First and goal from the 7. The give inside Ken Bell. He's down inside the 5. John Elway today rushed for 2 touchdowns. The first time he's done that in his pro career.
Draw trap with the quarterback running to play. A beautiful call. The perfect place to call it in that area. He's big and strong enough to go through the first would-be tackler. Crosses the plane, spikes the ball to check the pressure in the ball, and touchdown Denver Broncos.
2nd and goal, the ball at the 4. Gene Lang now, the lone setback.
See if they run left. Nope.
Oh, my.
What a shot.
That was Don Salomia who comes in and makes the tackle. Salamua, rather.
That was the best hit of the afternoon.
Just listen to it, Hank. Oh, that's the perfect sound that a linebacker likes to hear. Dan Salamua out of Arizona State, 6 feet, 285 pounds.
I started to say that was the best hit of the afternoon for the Lions.
3rd down now and goal. Kubiak with pressure from the backside. He won't get it off. He's sacked. George Jamison came through cleanly from the outside, the left outside linebacker. Big number 95, 6'1", 226. So the Lions now put 2 plays back-to-back that are impressive. Rich Carlos made a 28-yarder, missed from 49 yards. You see his numbers there. This one will be from 29. Gary Kubiak is the holder. It's long enough and it's good. So the Denver Broncos add 3 more to the total, and the tally now is 34, Detroit nothing. Right there. And Hank, I turn to you and I ask, is this a message by the Broncos to the rest of the AFC that they're back?
Well, no, I really don't think that's the case. I think they're back. I don't think there's any question about the ability of this football team. I think that this afternoon was a question of how bad Detroit was, really. They played a very, very poor football game. They looked like a very bad football team this afternoon, and I think that has to be partly responsible for the way the Denver Broncos played. You have to give them a lot of credit, but I don't think it's a true measure of their overall ability.
Gary Lee returns it out to the 17-yard line, and he is hit there by Randy Robbins. Even so, though, and I go along with what you say about Detroit, and it is a team that is struggling badly and has not played well here today, but Detroit, or Denver rather, has been pretty much in sync. They look to be in rhythm with what they are doing and executing. Rodgers.
Yeah, you have to feel compassion for him. You really do, because we've all been in that situation as coaches, and it's a very disheartening feeling. And the worst thing about it is you feel so helpless on the sideline because really, you don't catch a pass, you don't run, you don't throw, you don't make tackles, and there's not really much you can do once they pump the balls up, screw the heads on, and start to play.
Here at Mile High Stadium, it is the parting of the Orange Sea. All the fans dressed in orange now starting to depart the stadium, and I think the players want to get right behind them and head out too. It's been a long afternoon for both the Lions and the Broncos. Broncos put this one away early.
And you have to, again, give the Broncos an awful lot of credit. I think Dan Reeves is one of the great young coaches in the National Football League. They've got a terrific general manager in John Beek, great owner. The fans are super. And, when you look around this facility and get this atmosphere, you have to understand and feel that it's a winning organization.
Strictly a prevent defense now by the Broncos. 6 defensive backs. This is James Jones. Nowhere to run, even on the little dish off on the screen. How about the AFC West situation, Hank?
Well, a lot of people have kind of downplayed the role of the San Diego Chargers, but they've done an excellent job, and I think they have to be considered strongly, along with the Seattle Seahawks, as the top 2 teams in that division.
Well, everybody says they are a surprise. You're right. Chargers lead Denver by a game and a half. Denver trails Seattle by a half game, so that's the way it stands. Fourth quarter, 2-minute warning. That's where we are at Mile High Stadium. And don't forget, coming up next on CBS, 60 minutes, except for those of you in the Mountain Time Zone. 2nd and 10 from the 18. Long. Dumps it off, and there's a flag. Roland Jones was the man that came through and applied the pressure, and Long just dumped it, Hank.
The other thing is kind of surprising, Timmy, really, and is the fact that they're counting on Long to be their quarterback of the future. I'm surprised that he would be still in the game under these circumstances, because there's a good chance, they know they're going to throw the ball. There's a good chance of getting him hurt. You would think maybe that they might consider putting somebody else in the game, but it's awful late at this stage. I want to mention, too, we talked about teams.
Rounding, number 16 offense. We also have loss of down offense, 3rd down.
A moment ago, and when I talked about the Western Division, I talked about Seattle, and I talked about San Diego being a surprise, but I took for granted that people realize that these Denver Broncos are going to be very, very much in the race and have another great shot at winning this Western Division just like they did a year ago.
The intentional grounding call moves them back to the 5. Long sets in his own end zone and throws incomplete. It was intended for Chadwick. He had it and couldn't hold on. Mark Haynes was the defensive back on that side. So Detroit now will be faced with 4th down. We've got 1:50 remaining in the ball game.
Being here today and looking at a lot of the people or players who are back here for this weekend, it gets to be kind of melancholy when you look at Billy Thompson and Floyd Little, who did such a great job. Rod Sherman, who was just here for such a short period of time. I mentioned Mr. and Mrs. Phipps. But they bring back a lot of memories because we played a lot of games against those great people right here in Denver.
Vance Johnson standing at the 50-yard line to field this punt. and he calls everybody off. He'll let it hit the ground. The ball gets a Detroit bounce, and it'll be down on the 47-yard line. So Jim Arnold gets off a pretty good kick, 48 yards.
You can't let the players get down on themselves. You know, in spite of all the things you hear and all the things you do, somehow, some way, you got to make them rally and make them win. I think they got enough talent here. I think it's just a question. They're short in some areas. There's no question about the fact that their secondary needs a lot a lot of help. And I think they're on the right track as far as their defensive line and linebackers. They need help with their offensive line. The running backs are good ones. Chuck Long is a quarterback of the future. But I think everything has to be upbeat. Everything has to be positive. And somehow, some way, you got to sell them on the idea they got to win some games.
Kenny Bell picks up 10, first down. Hey, if somebody told you an American missile aimed at Moscow might hit Chicago, that would shake you up, wouldn't it? 60 Minutes tonight on CBS, followed by Murder, She Wrote, and then a CBS miniseries, Echoes in the Darkness, Part 1, based on a true story, and bestseller by Joseph Wambaugh. It starts Peter Boyle, Stocker Channing, and Treat Williams. That's all tonight on CBS. Ken Bell again gets the call, and he's hit by Curtis Green. Time expiring now. 35 seconds remain. And that man right there wants it to end as much as anybody.
Yeah, you feel sorry for what's happened here today from his standpoint. You know, it's a tough thing, a very tough thing to go through.
There will be no handshake here, instead of congenial salute to each other. And now they head to midfield.
And there's Dan Reeves, and he's done a terrific job here, as everybody knows. Had a great visit with him before the game. He was a little concerned about how the timing would be with his football team. It was excellent this afternoon.
You know, they waved at each other, Hank, and it didn't look as if they were going to come to midfield. Second thoughts, they come, they talk, and they depart.
I think they did, because Dan Reeves started. He could have run down the sideline. He didn't. He went across the field.
So that's it from Mile High Stadium in Denver. The Broncos win it 34-0. Right now, let's go to New York and Brent Musburger.
The opening kick from Rich Carlos, as the Broncos, who come into this one 4-2-1, wanting to get back into Super Bowl form, needing the victory on the road with a tough schedule ahead, go against the Bills, who are 3-4, coming into this one today in Buffalo. Here at Orchard Park, expecting a crowd in the vicinity of 65 to 70,000. It is a remarkably mild day, and we are underway with a line drive kick down the middle. Tasker for the Bills, trying to find running room out just across the 20-yard line, but that's about it. And so Kelly and company go to work for the first time, and they'll go to work into the wind. Kelly and his fine supporting cast, Harmon, Byram in the backfield, Burkett, Reed, and Metzelaars, the tight end, are the receiving corps. And in the line, a big question mark today, Leonard Burton, who fills in for the ailing Will Wolford. Had an ankle sprain last week early in the game against Washington, and Burton had his hands full with Dexter Manley. Today he has to contend with Rulon Jones. First play from scrimmage. We are underway. And on the ground, it is Ronnie Harmon. Harmon breaking it up close to the 30-yard line. In fact, perhaps just over the 30, getting 7 yards on the initial carry. Checking the defensive alignment now for the Broncos. Gilbert is back after being away with an injury. Townsend goes back to nose tackle, and we mentioned Jones, the All-Pro, on the right side. The linebacking core, Carl Mecklenburg, another All-Pro here. They haven't had the sacks that they would like, but not a major concern to Dan Reeves. It's Harmon again. This time, nothing working, and a penalty marker is down on the play. So the first mistake of the game.
Start, number 61, offense, 5 yards, still second down.
Leonard Burton, the aforementioned left tackle, filling in for Will Wolford, getting the false start. So in his anxiety and his anxiousness to get off the mark today, he has made a mistake that has cost his club 5 yards. Check the defensive backfield now for the Broncos. Haynes and Harden on the corners. Randy Robbins starts today for the injured Dennis Smith in that secondary. Smith suffered an injury last week in the shutout victory against Detroit. Harmon for the third straight time, trying that right side again, picks up a yard or two, and that's about it.
A key factor for the Buffalo Bills. They must control the line of scrimmage. They are going to have to run the football effectively, because the Denver Broncos are one of the finest defenses in the league against the pass. But opponents have been able to run and run successfully against Denver.
From the 27-yard line, third down, the Bills were unable to run the ball virtually at all last week as they lost to Washington. 21 yards on the ground for the ball game. Kelly, for the first time, completes the pass at the 35-yard line to Rob Riddick out of the backfield in the grasp of Rick Dennison. So Kelly on the first one picks up 7 as he goes to the air against the wind.
Riddick, number 40, is a fine all-purpose halfback. Watch the play now. Watch the spin move off of the linebacker. That's a good move to get inside of Dennison. Dennison is going to have his hands full one-on-one with Rob Riddick today.
So at the 35-yard line, Kelly comes up with the first down. See that Riddick has had a productive season in the 7 games thus far for the Bills with 7 total touchdowns, both as a rusher and a receiver. This time on the ground, it's Byron for the first time. And look at that hole as he crosses the 45-yard line. Only 21 yards last week on the ground, and already the Bills coming out and showing us something.
Byram is a big, strong back, about 235 pounds. He runs well straight ahead. Now, that offensive line is doing what we said they had to do, control the line of scrimmage. Just a straight-ahead rush by Byram, and if the Bills do business like this on the ground with Jim Kelly's passing ability, we might have a ball game.
Close to 11 yards on that pickup for the second first down on this opening drive for the Buffalo Bills. Metzelar, the tight end in motion, hand off Byram. Nothing working, tries to pop outside, and instead is dropped for a quick loss. Penetration that time by Simon Fletcher, number 73, popping in there along with Jim Ryan. They're the corners as far as the linebacking core is concerned.
For the defense, you see Fletcher there. A good start for a defensive team is stopping the offense on first down, stopping them for no gain. Then the defense can implement its nickel pass defense. And as I said, the Denver Broncos are the best in the business at this.
Simon Fletcher had been a defensive end until this season and was moved outside now as a linebacker in on that stop.